T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We are live. Later than normal. We were doing things. How's it going, the rookie, the critic?
Doing good. I thought you were going to say, how's it going, Guru? For some reason. Like a ancient guru of the day. Do you hear a fan?
I did hear a fan. That was the first time I've heard a fan from you.
Okay, and there's dogs barking next door. Shut the fuck up, dogs. God damn it. I'm streaming, don't you know? It's hot.
Yes, we had a fun day today.
Fun is subjective here, but...
That's why I called it 2 disasters in one day.
I think that the way we describe fun is different than SpongeBob.
Yeah, so we're at Isom 2, and then we watched Hellboy 2019. And it's funny because like I've been on this Hellboy kick out of nowhere lately, and so I've watched all 3 movies. I need to watch the animated. Never seen those. And I started reading Hellboy, and I dug in, watched 2019 Hellboy again, and I was surprised at how much I'm like, actually, I like this. It's just there's too much going on. And this is why I was like, "Oh, this is what we're going to talk about," Ricky, because what I was going to say about Hellboy 2, and we'll dig into the plot and pros, cons, whatever, is this is what happens when you have iterations of a character where it's like, all right, you need to do the character. There's like a template. All right. But with Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy, there's an established, Ron Perlman, they've left their mark on that character. It's like Wolverine and Hugh Jackman, or Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. They are even if there's other iterations been presented, they are the marquee image. And how do you go about rebooting after you've had those icons made? And so I think that is part of the problem for Hellboy, is that for years it was like, oh, we're going to do the 3rd movie. And then it's like, no, we're just going to reboot it. And you have to, I think Hellboy 2019 has the problem of simultaneously trying to like not retread everything that the first 2 films did, and yet feel familiar while still being themselves, so it's like, this is our Hellboy, and so it's like, oh, why'd you have to show the Nazi Rasputin origin? Like, we've already seen it, and it is cool, their visual take on it, but it's like underwhelming given the in-depth version we saw in the first one. So why even retread that? It's like, I do.
Well, and they're narrating over it and showing it, and I'm just like, I hate that format and the way that they're doing that, and I'm just like, okay, this makes it feel less valuable in a way, because it's like they want it to be impactful, but it's just another thing on top of what they're already doing in that film, and it's like, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I would have had that preamble just be in 517 and not narrated, and maybe just do the black and white, or have some sort of like more dingy look to it to set it apart. Like, this was in ancient times.
Well, yeah, because when they did that part, I thought you were talking about when they redid the same kind of thing that they did in the first Hellboy, showing the portal and all that.
Well,
that's
both,
what you're referring to. But yeah, I mean, but no,
I would say not show Rasputin's and Hellboy's origin.
No, I agree. I agree. That's what I'm saying too. But I like that they started with King Arthur and the Dark Ages. I'm like, okay, because in Hellboy 2 they kind of allude to Dark Age times, but it was a different story of that type of thing they were telling. So this one, if this is going to be different, it can set a tone. It can show something that's a little more unique. Maybe this will be different than the rest of the film. Maybe not. I don't know. But like the way they showed this, I was just like, what? Because it was like it was the Dark Ages, and for good fucking reason. And then it's like, and then King Arthur and them wanted to surrender, but they don't trust monsters, so they killed them. And then they just I'm just like, fuck me, what? Like, this is so uninteresting how they're showing this. But the idea is interesting, but the way they're showing it, I'm like, no, don't do that, no. It feels like this movie feels like Transformers in a way. Like, remember they did the same thing in Transformers as well. In the 5th one, it's like, oh, it's like in King Arthur times, and there's Transformers around, and something about Arthur and a sword, and it's just like, okay, I don't know. They recognize that those eras are cool, but they're not presenting them in a way that people like that. Like, the people like it. They just think they want to see blood and decapitation or something.
Yeah. I think I've seen complaints about Mia Jovovich as Nimue. It's like, I thought she did fine.
I think she could do fine. I just feel like she wasn't told to do anything but say the words that's there, and it's like, well, okay, but like, there's not really anything else for her to do, I guess. She's a sorceress chick.
I think they should have really leaned in more to this. They like hint around this like self-doubt of Hellboy, or like, it's there at the start when he's interacting with his dad, where it's like a troubled relationship, where it's like, oh, this, he's became a vampire, became unpure, unholy, of the dead. He had to be taken care of. And it's like, oh, really? Like, I'm a literal demon child. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of dialogue like that where the dad's like, obviously, a thing should be murdered, and there's no way it can ever be redeemed. And Hellboy's like, hello, anyway home? Think, McFly. Think. Look at me. I am the bringer of destruction, and you chose to not kill me, and I'm a good boy. It's I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like that type of message, like I feel like that's probably one of the core things they wanted to get through in this film, and it does, but it feels so muddied with other stuff that it doesn't hit right throughout the film for me.
yes. There we go. I've been wondering where that button is this whole time.
Well, and it's like, and we just saw Hellboy 2 as well. Like we just watched that again. And in that one, like, so let's take that for example. The prince in that one, he, like, we understand his motivation very well. They show it very well. They show him in his relations with his like sidekicks and like how he cares about other creatures and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of character with that guy compared to Mila Jovovich. She could be replaced with other villains and other things, and it wouldn't be that much different, really. Like, it just really wouldn't. But like, and even in Hellboy 2, there's like a lot of self-doubt of like, well, should I even be on the human side? Should I do this? Even though I think even in that they could have done that better. But there's that same self-doubt thing that I think presented better in Hellboy 2 compared to 2019.
Yeah, I would say that's probably. I haven't read enough of the Hellboy comics to know full-fledged, but seeing the movies, it's like I think that is a flaw. Like, Hellboy seems to be a really good character, but this idea of like, well, what if we like inverted? It's like, what if the good guy was born of evil, but he's good? And it's like, it doesn't matter where the idea of like, it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters what you do. And like, your birth doesn't inform who you are. Because if we believe that, then you could apply that to different demographics depending on what you're talking about. Well, it's just, you're doomed.
Yeah, it's like maybe even the vampire is like, I must eat human blood, but I'm going to try to choose the worst people to eat or something. So it's at least,
yeah, I'm pretty sure the movie Daybreakers, there's a vampire's trying to like drinks like synthetic blood to not be a murderer.
Well, yeah, that the whole thing is based on he doesn't want to kill humans because they're almost going extinct, and he has some type of sympathy for them. And yeah, he still drinks human blood, I think, but yeah, he tries to have the least pure human blood, essentially.
Yeah, or like Morbius, even though it's a horrible movie, that is an element of that, of like synthetic blood and stuff.
Yeah. But in Hellboy 2019, like, I'm watching it, like, there's so many fucking things happening. It's fighting giants. There's the Knights of the Round Table in the present day, and they're like, oh, look at this, cool. It's like the old days, but their spears and stuff have like Ghostbuster packs on it now, and it can shock you. And still ride horses though. And then there's a bridge, and then we're gonna like attack Hellboy, and then he's gonna wake up and he's gonna heal from most of his wounds, and he's gonna fight these giants, and then he's going to wake up and see Alice in Wonderland, and then they're going to get attacked by the SWAT team. It's like, it's like a whole nother huge sequence of stuff sort of going on. I'm just like not feeling any of it. And it's one of the things too, where I'm not a huge CGI stickler of like, oh, there's CGI in the movie, it's so bad, but there's so much in this, and it's so in your face that I'm like, oh, like the bad CGI, it stands out a lot to me. And
yeah, like the daimyo cat,
too much,
man.
and there's just too much of it. We're like, why is it even necessary to? It might have been cooler just to see her reaction to him transform, and you don't need to see them. I don't know, like it just goes with filming styles. And then, like I said, we saw, like, I didn't just rewatch Hellboy 1, but I still recognize it very well. Like, the Samael thing looked so good, and it looked like a monster.
It's a practical suit too.
Yeah, and it looked like slimy. It looked powerful with it. It looked funky. It had like a more interesting design. I'm not looking at it confused at all. It's good on screen, and like that was good. And I wish that they had more of that in this. Even Abe, like, you know, he's not that impressive, but as like a makeup, but it still stands out compared to most of the stuff in this.
Oh no, Abe Sapien is as in depth as Hellboy. Both of them are like 4-hour.
No, I'm not saying as a character. I'm saying visually. It's not. It it's not that difficult to make up compared to like Samael, is what I was saying.
I guess, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, because one's like a full thing they had to build. One's just makeup, pretty much. But still impressive, of course, because you could have shitty face makeup too, if they
Yeah,
want.
well, no, he's got like
good
a
at
whole
that.
helmet and a skin suit, and they gotta like, glue it all around, and yeah, it would be a real headache.
But I mean, yeah, they made that look good. And as far as I could tell, that it didn't like come apart while doing it. I also feel like Hellboy 1 and 2 could almost be swapped, and like what they decide to tell with the story, if they wanted to. But of course, the main difference being the dad being alive in the first or second one, pretty much.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, either way, that one is those are told pretty good, and then in this one, it's like they have like so many things they want to tell you. You got to see the Baba Yaga. You got to go see these giants. You got to go to Knights of the Round Table. You got to fight this giant pig thing. You got to go fight these things. You got to fight those things now. It's like, fuck me.
Yeah, they don't feel connected because if you read Hellboy, at least thus far, what I've read and what I'm aware of is that Hellboy is like you're reading like vignettes of adventures, you know. So it's like here's a 4-issue block of Hellboy. It's kind of an introduction, and then he deals with the Rasputin, and then like the main story is the Wild Hunt in Hellboy 2019. Oh, and what's interesting is they are apparently doing another reboot of Hellboy, which I'm excited because I like the idea of Hellboy because he's like a demon, but he's not overpowered. You know,
and I can see them doing a different version of Hellboy compared to the Ron Perlman ones. I can see that being a thing. This, I feel, was like so many of those ideas crammed into one thing, and they did not have a cohesive story at all, which is disappointing. And like even in the first Hellboy, they started in like World War II, the Nazis and stuff. That was like a good 15 minutes or so just there, and then it goes to the present, and that's where you pick up for the story. Essentially, they could have done that with the Knights of the Round Table or something, and whatever war with the ancient things. And I mean, in this movie, like when he's like friends with Alice, is like I was like, was she in the fucking film up to this point? Because he's acting like, oh yes, we've met before. And I was like, when? And then like there's a lot of times where they kind of do that in the film, and I'm like, did I fucking miss something? Like what? And it's not like you need to show everything all the time, but in this film where there's so many characters and monsters and things going on, I'm just like I don't know what they want me to think about or chew on while I'm watching this, and so I'm trying to stay with it. And then it's like, well, I don't know, is this gonna be important? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of it's kind of forgotten about, or it just moves on, and I'm like, I don't know. And they're like when he gets betrayed by the Britons, by the table there or whatever, his dad's friends, it's like, okay, I feel like that happened way too early in the film, like because that's what the whole film is, like all these people are trying to kill me. I don't know, I feel like there could have been some things done to make it more tragic that he gets betrayed. It you know, I know what they're going for, I know that that's what it'll get to, but it just felt like, oh, I guess they're doing that here now. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see if it'll show up. Overlay. Let's look. One second.
Okay.
Damn it.
So.
That's not it. Try to find a good picture.
All right. I'm not sure what you're trying to find.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Okay. But yeah, so I didn't really come away liking it. There's only one scene that I thought was fine, and I mean that scene I think could be restructured to be better, big time, because it was still a messy scene. But that visual is good.
Yeah, I
like that.
really love the look of like how they changed from. It's like subtle to a degree, but like again, this is like their take on it. This is supposed to be like a younger Hellboy. All right, so he's got more of a hairline, and he's way more defined. Ron Perlman, like he's got a realistic build in this suit that he wears, but it's kind of like stylized a bit versus like Harbor's Hellboy looks like a real buff guy. And his face actually looks like when I watch Hellboy and like hey, Hellboy's like, yeah, I know I'm ugly. And it's like, I don't think people would think, oh, Hellboy, oh! You know, like how they kind of show it in Guillermo's Hellboy series. It's like I don't really buy the revulsion.
There wasn't enough revulsion in this one, honestly. Surprisingly.
Well, that's another big problem, right? So the first Hellboy into the second one, it's like he's a secret. He's like, oh, he's like Sasquatch. This is just made up. This is a conspiracy. Why can you never get a good focused picture? Because it's made up. This is you know, the chupacabra. It's not real. Quit worrying about it. And then Hellboy 2, it's like, he actually gets revealed to the public. And so the cat's out of the bag now. But in this film, it's like he just goes to Mexico and he's trying to like kind of be in disguise, wearing a hoodie. But then he gets called out. So he's like, all right, I'm fighting in public. And then, we found you via Twitter updates. And like, he's not a secret. And it doesn't feel like if he's not a secret, then things they do shouldn't really be a secret.
Blood monster shouldn't be a secret. It's like there's so many things about the world that changes when it's like this. And that's annoying too. It was like when it said Twitter updates or whatever. It's like, so they're doing the thing in modern films where they just say something that they think is a joke, like a modern thing. And it's like, I hate that. You know, like they do a better line of that in Hellboy 2, where he's like, God, I hate YouTube. Like, that was funny because he's like getting upset about him being spotted on cameras and stuff. And he's like, YouTube. Like that was a better version of what they did with the Twitter reference in this film, is what I'm kind of getting at. Like they'll reference a modern thing and be like, I hate a modern thing. But
yeah, it's just weird because like they put the effort to make him look a bit more demonic, make him look more hellish. And like, he's got this underbite like in the comics. That's very staple of the way they draw Hellboy, is he's kind of got a protruding underjaw.
Underjaw looks intimidating.
Yeah, it builds like a aggressive.
To me, I guess, does a pit bull come to mind or something? Like some type of
I guess
animal
so, yeah.
That's like, it can bite. It can
bulldog.
If it bites you, you're fucked.
Bulldog.
A bulldog, yeah.
Yeah, it just like he looks fucking jacked. He looks like he'd fuck you up. And yeah, so his hairline was. I like that they had his hair down instead of like the samurai hair they did in Guillermo's Perlman Hellboy. It's little details like that where it's like, all right, this is a little different. You know, just like every iteration of Batman, they got a different take on the suit, the car, the tech. I really like that. And it's like they put in Harbor, I think, really good as Hellboy.
Yeah, I think he would have been fine. It's just what happened in the movie was not very good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he comes away from this like Ryan Reynolds with Green Lantern. I think Ryan Reynolds actually reached out to him afterwards.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, we got Hoffcast saying boring. Ron Perlman is a horrible human. Chupacabra is real, bro. Well, no, I don't care about Perlman's Trump derangement. He's a good actor, and he's amazing as Hellboy. Left his mark on the character. Sad we're not getting a third one. Polygon says, sup? And
Papa C.
Hellboy and the Don't Say Gay. What?
I thought that said Hellboy and the Holy Grail for a second.
That's what. Oh, so we didn't stick around for the end. There's an end credit scene. So if you don't recall, his father talks about Lobster Johnson being involved in taking down the Nazis. Yeah. Well, at the end, he's at some grave for, I guess, his dad. And he's drunk, and then Lobster Johnson, as a spirit, I guess, just like haunts the cemetery. And then he's like talking to him, and he's like, "I love you, Lobster Johnson." And it's just like, okay. I mean, it's like meant to be like there will be more Hellboy. And it's like, I would like to see more of what they would do.
I feel like they were hoping that they could get a sequel, but I feel like they filmed it knowing that we're not getting a sequel. Because that's why I feel like that's why they put so much into this one film. Like as much as possible.
It was the producers, apparently. I've read a little bit into it.
I'm actually kind of cool with you keeping the image up there while we talk about it.
Okay.
For now, if you want to, it's cool.
Yeah,
image.
yeah. Well, I do love
They know
looking at.
They know we're
this
topic.
Hellboy.
They know what we're talking about while we're talking.
Yeah.
about
Also,
it,
I love
so.
all the cuts on him, and
Yeah,
like,
I'll admit the Ron Perlman Hellboy looked a little too clean. I do wish there was a little bit more damage of battle scars or some kind on Perlman's one. I do like that this one seems to have seen some shit, so it's like okay, all right. Even though he does seem to heal really quick, which not sure how that works with his healing and damage, but whatever. One thing that I like with Perlman's take on it is the like soft tone he'll do sometimes, like, you know, hey buddy, you want to do those things? Like the way they talk sometimes is more chill, and then it goes to, you know, hey, get over here. From there, with this, it's mostly yelling for a lot of the takes. I don't know. Like I feel like Perlman does a better low gruff, and then can, you know, go better. You know, I want to do that if I were you. Okay, like he can come off more chill and then more intense. With this guy's all intense.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like the mouthpiece he was wearing for the teeth or what, but sometimes it's like he's like talking around his prosthetics, and so his voice sounds strange sometimes. In his delivery.
I lied. Did this when he said, like, when he's yelling, I was like, "Ew, something's off." I don't know.
But overall, I think he did great. The other thing, the Daimyo Catman, I don't know what he's actually called in the comics, but he like, I do think it's funny, like, it kind of comic humor. It's like, I'm actually more of a dog guy. It's like, man, that's kind of
the opposite of what most cats are.
It's like, man, like, I'm a dog person. I get turned into a cat man.
What a yin and yang.
Yeah. But they show, like, he's explaining, like, yeah, it's on like some sort of predator mission in the jungle, and this thing attacked, and now I'm this cat man. It's like, wait, did the power transfer to you? Like, I have no sense.
Were you the cat the whole time, or did you?
Right, is this the lie you tell, and actually you were the cat man the whole time, and you went fucking feral?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, but it's like that's the kind of thing in this movie that sucks, because it's like, here's a crumb nugget, and then later it's just like, well, wait a second, if we're gonna go into the story, like, you know, I don't know, like, I understand films wanting to, like, do it's almost like trailers for other potential films. Like, I feel like it's what, like, Avengers 2, a lot of that was like setting up other stuff, but it's like they still had a story in that film and ended at a point. And it's, I don't know, like, this one's like, that's cool, huh? Okay, anyway, back to the movie.
Oh, what's interesting too is I don't know why they held this till the end, but that end fight scene that leads into the hint of Abe Sapien, that reminded me so much of just 4 years later, Guardians 3. They have a fight scene like that where it's stylized, and it's like you're bouncing from this kinetic fight scene from all these characters taking out people. It's just like, man, there's so much here. If they just had the right guidance, and it's like, it seems like the producers really screwed this movie, because the director is Neil Marshall of The Descent.
Oh wow, yeah, he takes a lot of care of his films.
Yeah, so strange. Let me actually look up his filmography.
What's up, Karen? Saying hello in the chat. What is up, Karen?
Are you a Hellboy fan, Karen? Let us know.
But it's like, and then
wait, really quick. So he did the movie Dog Soldiers, which I've not seen.
I've heard that one's really good. I've heard that one's really good. And
Doomsday.
Yep.
I've seen Doomsday. Pretty wacky. And it's like a zombie Mad Max movie. Centurion. That's a film you need to watch, Ricky. It's got Michael Fassbender.
Okay.
He's a Roman, like, centurion, and he's trying to, like, outrun, I guess, Celts or barbarians or something.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say the Japs.
But I didn't know this. Neil Marshall also directed Blackwater and The Watchers on the Wall for Game of Thrones.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. He was inspired to become a filmmaker when he saw Raiders of the Lost Ark at 11. So that's cool. Now that you've just watched, cognizantly you've watched Indiana Jones trilogy.
Yes.
And now you're like, oh, I get it.
Yes. I feel bad for him having made this film, though, and it turning out the way that it did. especially
Yeah.
again when there's like, again just this art piece is really fucking tight. That's like, oh man, like what? Imagine if he could have done it how he wanted to.
Yeah, let me look up.
'Cause he does try to take attention to detail from what I hear, I guess, and he really tries to make you feel immersed in it a little. Like he likes to do references to other things too, but not as obvious references. So it's like doesn't distract away too much from what you're watching. Apparently.
Yeah, let me. I'm not used to using shorts, so.
Well, you put one leg in and then the other leg, and then you put them over your waist. And
all right, let me share this.
there you go.
Get
Shorts
rid
are
of
pretty much
overlay.
a TikTok. Pretty much a tickety talk.
Right, but I don't know how to like rewind them. Is the problem?
His career started.
You killed the Batman.
But he said, looking back at his choices, he has one big regret. This was for David Harbour doing the 2019 Hellboy movie, which was a critical failure and also lost $40 million commercially. When David Harbour was cast as Hellboy, he had multiple people come up to his events as well as friends of his saying, don't do the role. The reason being that there was a fan base for the Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman Hellboy movies, which came out in 2004 and 2008. Neither of those were big successes, with Hellboy 2004 only making $100 million on a budget of $66 million, meaning it likely lost money. And Hellboy 2 only made $168 million on a budget of $85 million, meaning it likely at best only broke even. David Harbour heard the complaints from fans and initially just called them nerds in the back of his mind and didn't care, saying if we can have 200 Batman, we can have 2 Hellboys. David Harbour definitely didn't get it, it was a critical and commercial failure, and he said the fans boycotted it successfully. David Harbour...
That part, I had no idea about this fandom would be like this. And so it's like, oh, so like the Snyderverse.
Wait. So like people boycotted this.
Yeah, so it wasn't just, oh, we don't like it. It was like apparently there was active Hellboy fandom snubbing the film.
Oh,
because it wasn't Hellboy 3.
Wow. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, cause I didn't want to see.
They didn't give it a chance.
This, but I couldn't judge it until I watched it here. I mean, wow.
Let's continue.
Harbour ended up getting consoled by Ryan Reynolds on a phone call saying he knows what it's like to fail with Green Lantern. David Harbour said his big lesson was never step on the feet of a fan base for something they simply do not want. He hopes Ron Perlman gets a third movie. With that, I'm Charles Perrault. Subscribe to learn something.
I feel like people could have definitely gotten behind this actor in a Hellboy. Like, let's say they did a Hellboy 3 and they had to do some type of changes. Like, I feel like they could have. Like, you didn't have to have Ron Perlman. But I guess that'd be too jarring for a lot of people, though, too.
Yeah.
But I mean, what if they did one like set earlier, like a Hellboy story that isn't in the modern day, have him a little younger or something?
Oh yeah, put him in like the 70s or 80s. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, see how he is in those times. That'd be fine.
Yeah, because Hellboy's supposed to be like he's got his fucking hand and shit to punch. Like he's a detective.
I was about to say his hand isn't even that much of a factor in anything. It's just like you just know that he can punch pretty hard, but that's no different than like his normal strength seems to be pretty strong. So it's just like a slightly extra strong boost, +5 or something with his big hand.
Yeah, that's why it's fun because
it's like he
doesn't fly. He doesn't have any like ridiculous tech. He just has like relics, bullets for his guns. Yeah, so that's another problem. It's like what the first 2 films established is like he's a secret, and they keep all this like fantastical stuff under wraps.
Well, they also show his durability level and that he can get very injured. He can be super fucked up in a fight. In this one, I have no idea like what his
risk is. Yeah,
because he
like
gets
when Baba Yaga has her house raised up, he's like, "Wah!" and like has to run in because he's scared of fall. It's like, why would you be scared of fall? You've been hit by giant hammers and stuff.
And that's the thing too. In the first one, they show that he can survive some big falls and fire and stuff. Like there's things that won't kill him very much. But
what the second one, especially surviving fire.
He especially gets he shows his mortality when he gets like stabbed by the elf. Like that's another thing too. So like when I see that one stab, that does pain. And then in this one, it's like, oh, he gets stabbed like 20 times and then tossed around, and it's like, not liking that. That's not great because I don't believe that if like he were to get shot, he'd die or anything. So,
yeah, like him being a stripped down character. That's what they do. Like the vampire. I think the vampire bat person thing looks cool, but it looks a little too cartoonish for juxtaposition with his Hellboy,
Yeah,
which is like
like
very
that would be in a
gritty and
different
metal.
film. That'd be in a different film.
It
kinda
looks more
thing.
like it'd be in like what's a recent movie that's this kind of vampires?
I'm not sure, but
Um
I mean, with the design and like with that vampire guy, that was supposed to be his friend, and that was supposed to be like a step, like a starting point of his position of like, can these evil things be redeemed? I wish that they spent slightly more time with that, if anything, to show like, maybe, as they're fighting and stuff, that like, the guy is just worried that like, yeah, his friend is going to do this, and maybe the friend even has a chance to seriously harm Hellboy, even if he can't kill him or something, like that he maybe hesitates because he sees his friend. I don't know, something, because it's like,
wait, no, sorry. I'm just laughing because I showed these a couple days ago with Chris Fisk. My library, other libraries probably do too, but my library chain, they will take stuff out of rotation and put it for sale. And this helps whatever funding they do with this money they make from selling their stuff used. So I found some comics. A couple of these I'm just going to try selling on eBay, but other stuff, I want to get you might get a kick out of this. All right. It's called Prez. Let me solo layout. It's called Prez. This came out in 2016. Corn Dog in Chief, Volume 1. Let me read you the back of it. The American people have just selected a new president, Oregon teen Beth Ross, a.k.a. Corn Dog Girl. Age restrictions were abolished when corporations gained the right to run for office, and voting booths have been replaced by Twitter, making just about anyone eligible for the nation's top job, including the viral video famous Corn Dog Girl. Now the eyes of the nation are on Beth, but in a world so out of control that the poor are willing to shoot themselves on TV for a chance at a better life, will even the new president have the power needed to overthrow the nation's true leaders? Boss Smiley and his corporate shadow government. And this is the back. So it's woke.
Wow. That is something.
And then here's another one. This is from Dark Horse. So Dark Horse is the company that Hellboy's published under. This is called Soupy Leaves Home. Now, again, you can buy all this stuff for 50 cents a piece or $3 for $1. So it's like such a low risk. Why not? All right. When Pearl runs away from her abusive father, she has nowhere to go until she stumbles.
That Mr. Krabs always mean to Pearl.
Until she stumbles upon a disguise that gives her the keys to a new identity. Reborn as a boy named Soupy, she hitches her star to Ramshackle, a hobo who takes her under his wing. Ramshackle's kindness and protection go a long way toward helping Soupy heal from her difficult past, but he has his own demons to wrestle with, and he'll need Soupy just as much as she needs him. Two misfits with no place to call home take a train-hopping journey from the cold heartbreak of their eastern homes to the sunny promise of California in this Depression-era coming-of-age tale. I like that. It's like, well, she's reborn as a boy, but so it's like I guess a trans character. I don't know.
I guess they're just doing that because we know that that's still her, I guess.
But and then I got this Batman by Neil Gaiman, the guy who made Sandman and American Gods. Whatever happened to the Cape Crusader? And it seems this is essentially like a funeral for Batman, and you're getting, I guess, I'm assuming each issue will be a different character's perspective on Batman. So it sounds like it's kind of like Superman for all seasons. So I'm excited. But my sketchbook 340. Hello. There we go. How's it going? Two disasters? I should have made it like bold and had like a Tim Pool style red and white font.
You need to have like those eyeball, like bullet surprise things over character
cry eyes. Yeah.
Or Hellboy and Isom.
Yeah. So if you're just catching up, no, I'm not just finding it. I've known Isom sucks for a couple months now. It's just worse with 2. Like, I saw the like end images and I'm like, wait, what? I have no. This doesn't feel like it's going to
Showed
be
you
in
the
the same
Thanos
world.
monkey goat
Yeah,
thing.
and then I read it and it's like, oh wow. Like, what is the connection to the first book? Like, this doesn't feel like the same world. It's mesmerizing. I get really I see the success of this because of personality, and people think they're making a political statement against corporations like Marvel and Disney and DC and stuff, for their infractions, and so they hitch their horse to below mediocrity. Like, given the things I've heard through the years before you even put this out, this comic, I would, be inclined to back him. I almost did when it first Isom came out, but it's like, I gotta be tired of money if I want to back people. Like, this guy, like, I was going to, and then he had such success. And I'm like, well, he doesn't, I'd like to, but he doesn't need my help compared to, like, indie creators that are starting out trying to just make funding for a project. So that was my decision not back it. And I'm so glad I didn't give it money because it doesn't deserve it. It's so bad. You could say it deserves money because I am entertained by how bad it is. I mean, Ricky read it today. And we'll finish it. And I'll let you start, Ricky. Your
Also,
overall
are we
feelings.
done with Hellboy? Moving on now?
Yeah. We're on the Isom wagon now.
Oh boy. Yeah, so I mean, I'm the kind of one where I'm definitely wanting Rippaverse stuff to do well. I want it to succeed. They're trying to make a lot of comics. They're trying to be very creative. They're trying to utilize a lot of people and from around the sphere and industry and everything to make this stuff. Trying to put out, like, I think his goal is to do 4 a year or something. That's great. I want that to do well. Reading the content of the books, though, it's not been very fun so far in terms of its quality. It's been fun to read because it's funny, but there's still, especially in the second one, I thought the second one would give more, like, would make the first one appear a little bit better, maybe with an expansion, kind of like how like a Force Awakens does. But then it doesn't. The second one's gonna help. The next one will. I don't think it does. Not necessarily. It makes it more. It probably makes it worse, I would think. Reading this, I mean, I there's so much. I don't know where to start. Where do we start? Like,
all right, so I guess we'll have to try to recap Isom 1. So Isom, who is Avery Silman, is a former superhero for Floor Texas. He's hung up his cape, even though he actually has never wore a cape. His suit. And he gets a call from his sister about some intern is missing and she's worried about it. He's like, I don't give a fuck. And she's like, ultimately the only motivation that drives him to investigate is, I guess, the mother of that character was like a church lady. And so he wouldn't want to, it's not clear if she's dead or not, but he wouldn't want to invoke the ire of her memory. And so he feels obligated to her memory of the Mrs. Newman to find Jasmine. And so the only clue is that I guess she's worked around or with this Darren guy. Darren's a guy he went to high school with, and he owns this club. And so he goes and meets him after all these years, I guess, of not interacting. And he's kind of like a black Kingpin or Cottonmouth character. And there's nothing there to lead Isom to like escalate. He's just kind of a dead end. But he turns violent, and so I would say justifiably get security and kick his ass out. And so then he's like kind of lost, and while that happens, he ends up bumping into this chick named Yaira that he has no idea of. She, I guess, sees that he's a black guy and thinks he's related to Alpha Core or something. And so she's like, oh, you're with them. He's like, what? And then she throws into a fucking car, not knowing that he is a superhero. And so it's like, wait, was she just willing to kill a guy that bounced into her on accident? Like, whatever.
She assumed that he was a super dude, I guess.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And there is a funny joke in that sequence because
there was a funny part.
I've trained my body to withstand so much, but there's one thing I can't do, and that's fly. And then bam, crashes. Wakes up in the hospital. You learn through the dialogue of these hospital workers, a doctor and nurse, whatever, that, oh, well, like he like fell into a car, so he should be dead because he's not an accept. We did a blood test. So they indicate in this world that the supers have like a blood identifier, like a mutation, a mutagen, whatever. So
you have the Force, you can use that.
I'm expecting, given that there's a cross on his crotch, that he's going to be some sort of Christ-derived character. I'm assuming he's going to be imbued with some sort of Christ power or something, because like, why else have this Christian symbol on his crotch? I don't know. And yeah, they make a point of like, he's not showing up as an Except, but clearly he survived. An Except is like mutant or superhero. It's unclear if 2 books in, I still don't know, in this supposed very lived-in world that we're exploring, if superheroes on Earth are like X-Men and they're born with it and it like pops at puberty or something, or if it's like Vought in The Boys and it's a pharmaceutical. I have no idea. But anyway, so he's traveling around trying to get clothes and get back on the trail to find Jasmine. He's trying to stake out the place. He even says like, what am I doing? I'm not a detective, but he's doing detective work by staking out the place. And then he just like happens to run across her on accident, the girl he's looking for. And this leads to a second series of assaulting people at this club and fighting this,
because there was like some of the club guards or something around there and see him grab her, and then they say, hey, you just grabbed that woman. They grab him, and then he's like, hey, you just grabbed me, and then they fight.
Yeah, it's like, who the hell are you? You grabbed this woman. They're there to like guard her because she's an asset for Darren. We don't know why, but she is. And then he gets grabbed, justifiably so, and then it's like, you touched me, we're going to fight. And it's like, it's written in a way where it's like, are you trying to show us he's a hero? Because like nothing seems heroic.
It's like, I was like, honestly, by the end of the first book, I'm like, so Isom's kind of like the villain, I guess.
All the retaliation, all the fighting
everybody
against him is justified up to this point, at least. Yeah, and there's like a little throwaway scene back at the ranch. His second in command, which I don't even remember his name being said, but I guess his name is Sam. He sees a door ajar at like, I guess, the security building on the ranch, and then it's like, you know, we cut away from that storyline, and that's an element in this new one. But essentially, you know, Isom's trying to find Jasmine. He comes across her. He fights the Except, and then he gets busted by the cops, so he runs away from the cops, which is funny. So there's a thing here a couple of times in the first book that just being aware of everything's racial and political today, I would avoid. And that is, he starts the book by showing Isom outside in a totally outdoor gym on his ranch doing athletics. And it's like, well, it's a black guy. That's like a stereotype. It's like rap and crime and athletics. Those are like black
stereotypes. I also kind of thought that like having a gym on your farm is a little odd. Like I think you'd be wouldn't you be like utilizing farm equipment to work out or something? I'm thinking Rambo style, just Rocky style. I don't know. Like,
I mean,
there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work you do on farms, right? Like that work you out. Like,
well, he owns the farm. Yeah, that's the other thing is like in the campaign pitch for Isom, they like explicitly mention him being a rancher, and it's like I have no idea what this guy's ranching or how it affects him. Also, he's retired, superhero.
Like I'm trying to imagine him plowing
so,
or like doing
does
stuff
he
by hand.
have
Like
does he have like economic stability from being a superhero? Did he get perks? Did he get like commercial deals? Like, I'm Isom and I'm the spokesman for Dr. Pepper. You know, we have no idea. And so, like, is the ranch like key to his survival, or is this just like a hobby? And there's like scenes with like new ranch hands being hired and stuff, and Isom's out of the picture from the ranch, and so you're getting these like sort of heart to hearts with Sam, his second in command, instead of Isom, which wouldn't be a problem to like have secondary characters get expansion. But I don't know what Isom's motivation is. I don't know his worldview. So why are you giving us that with his underlings?
and they could have had that with each other, like so we get something of both of them.
So that's really frustrating. Now, all this matters because it's a 100-page book. You're talking about 4+ issues of content available to tell one issue story, and it feels there's a lot that happens in a way, but it feels like nothing happens. It's
if we were to say this isn't just the first issue, this is the first 4 issues technically. If we we're going to go with that standard, this is where we're at with it.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
And so they get in another fight.
They got in a fight. He runs away from the cops. Guards,
and then, well, the cops was after. Is this when he runs after the cop, or he runs away from the cops?
Yeah, he fights the Except and has like the disrespect line.
Well, no, yeah, he fights the Except first, and he's like, I don't like it when we're called Except because that term wasn't something that we wanted to have. And then he's like, why are we talking about that? Well, I know, but that's what the dialogue says. Okay, and I came in with respect, and then respect was taken from me, and that cannot be tolerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, what is one issue for Isom is more or less, I'm assuming this Neil Gaiman, Andy Kubert book is the same length, and it's a collected little volume, and it tells a story in more or less that amount of pages. And Isom is almost 100 pages, and it's like, where are we going?
Well, it's like even it's like even if you have like a much longer thread that you're going to have, like he wants this to be a 3-part big story. Each one has like 100 pages. There should be like a conclusion brought by the end of each book, though. And even with that, even within the book, like as if it was 4 issues, like when you end chapters within it or something, sections should have more clear like ideas of what you're transitioning to. And I guess we could say the end of we could probably break them up into sections essentially in the first and second book, but it doesn't seem as clear.
Yeah, no, I agree. I saw this earlier, but yeah, I agree. My sketch would say you went about Dick and Vito, but they're like spot on with the criticism of this. And the biggest thing, so like I saw some posts today about Mrs. and Mr. Emma Frost. So I guess in the X-Men comics, Iron Man is marrying Emma Frost. It's like a big comic event right now. And he's taking her name instead of it being Mr. and Mrs. Tony Stark. It's going to be Mrs. and Mr. Emma Frost.
It's just going to be Frost Industries.
I don't know. But he's taking her name, and so she's leading, and they even switch Mrs. and Mr., which like Mr. and Mrs. is just a natural flow.
So now he's Mrs. and she's Mr.?
No, he's still Mr. He's Mr. Emma Frost. There's Mr.
Emma Frost or Mr. Frost?
Well, they're saying like, oh, the wedding of Mrs. and Mr. Emma Frost instead of like the wedding.
Why is her first name in the last name?
What do you mean?
You said Mr. and Mrs. You said Mr. and Mrs. Emma Frost.
Right.
So like if I were to say
this is how you introduce like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. blankety blank.
Right, but you wouldn't say Mr. and Mrs. Janet Jackson. Like that doesn't make any. You just say Mr. and Mrs. last name, not first name and last name of one.
Well, that's how they're selling it.
So doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It's an outright gender flip inversion of roles, and emasculating Tony Stark by making him buy into this like woke, denying the patriarchal tradition of matrimony. She's in charge.
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a post about this, and someone said something like, "Screw woke Marvel and DC. I got Eric July's Ripper." He like has this picture of all his Ripper crap, and I was like, just because Marvel's woke doesn't mean Isom isn't a literary disaster. And then Eric saw that and commented, "Ha ha ha," and it's like, I wouldn't be so hard on Isom if it wasn't for like the smug Ryan Johnson attitude of Eric July with any criticism about his shit. Like in that Flashcast stream, if you haven't seen it with Eric Dick Mash, and then later video comes on and talking about Isom and shit. Before that, EVS is like trying to talk about like criticism for this book, and he's like, "I read it twice." Like he didn't say like, "I read it twice. I had to read it a second time. It was so good." Like he said it in like, dude, I like made sure I was correct about how like fucked up this book is. I read it twice. That's the tone of, and at one point in that stream, they're talking about like, well, what are his powers? And he's like, well, did you see him like hit a wall and come away from that? And it's like, yeah, but like, what are his powers? Again, because like I said, he runs away from when the cops come up.
His powers
and
are
so
he
it's
can
like,
get hit by a wall and not die.
And so
That's
it's like,
power?
I don't know if when the character runs away from cops, is it he's just avoiding a headache right now of like bureaucracy and misunderstanding, or is it that he's actually worried about his vulnerability to the cops pulling guns on him?
Well, and sometimes there's different types of like durability. Like if he gets slammed into a wall, okay, that's one type of thing he can survive. If he can be dropped from the sky and fall into a car, okay, so he can survive heavy impacts. But can a bullet kill him? Can fire kill him? Can drowning kill him? I mean, you don't need to answer all of these questions, but I mean,
I need some parameters to start understanding the vulnerability of the character.
When Captain America got shot in Civil War, it was like, oh, that significantly wounded him, and like his ability to be like really on par fighting is like diminished big time.
Or like in the movie Brightburn, which is like an evil Superman archetype, like origin film. He starts like realizing he's not human, and so then like he has a fucking lawnmower running, and so he like starts inching his hand toward the blade, and it's like, well, you don't know, and then snap, he like destroys the blade because he's resistant to it. So he starts understanding his like, all right, that was a risk, and actually now I know it's not a risk. All right, so if anyone is trying to attack him with lawnmowers, we now know,
or something. Exactly.
We now know that lawnmowers are not a viable threat to Brightburn.
That will not do critical damage.
And that's one of many problems of this, and this idea of like, well, he's an asshole. He doesn't really give a fuck about anything. This is all an inconvenience to him. It's like, that's fine. You need something redeeming, like Venom, even though they're kind of going the anti-hero route instead of villain in the Venom verse of Sony. It's like, all right, this guy is not above killing people, but Eddie's trying to like tamper down Venom and be like, all right, we only eat and kill bad guys, and so he's starting to like set ground rules, and it's like, I don't get what this is at all. But anyway, he fights, and we still don't have Jasmine resolved. If like she's a rape victim, if she's being trafficked, we have no idea. Yeah. And he ends up like his real motivation is to get his suit back. He wants his old super
which
suits.
Implies that his suit would be, to me, that implied that like that's gonna be like a Batman suit or something that has like a lot of things that help him out in fights or something, because I mean, if we're supposed to believe he's already pretty strong and he doesn't need his suit, like, right? Like, is the suit supposed to help with the impacts or help him fly? Like, What is the significance of the suit?
I think it's supposed to be shock
wear...
absorption. It's essentially a Black Panther suit, what I'm gathering.
Because even
like
that
shock absorption.
Even that isn't shown very well. Like if he if he got in a fight with somebody in this one and he got punched and he gets flown, and then in the next one he gets punched by a powerful person, and it shows like that he can more stand his ground a little better, like stammer back but not get sent flying. Like, you know, that helps like deviate the blow or something. That would be a visual way to tell us without spelling it out for us, but that would help us understand his threat level. What is he at risk for? A little. That help a little bit.
Right. And anyway, he goes to get his suit, and the guy he's getting his suit from is like kind of hostile to him. And it's like, well, don't try anything because we'll fucking kill you. And it's just like, okay, wow. It's like the tone is all over the place. And
so it's like you're not friends.
Yeah.
You're not okay.
It's fine, funny because like you watch superhero films and it's like, all right, first you understand the state of the character in the world when you first meet him before he's superpowered, and then he gets his powers and he starts like learning his limits, and then he feels in control of his powers, and so then he gets a suit, and that like culminates like he's completed this trial and error process, and once your character gets his formulated suit, he is in control of his actions. And so, like Spider-Man, first
I was thinking of Daredevil,
Daredevil too, but yeah, first, Spider-Man like has all these weird things happening. He's tired. Is it pubescent? Is he sick? And then he starts experimenting, starts climbing walls, starts figuring out how to shoot his web. And then he's like, oh, fuck, all right, I'm gonna go wrestle. And he like makes a shoddy sweatpants suit. All right. And then after the tribulation of Uncle Ben, he figures out like, wait, I have to be an objectivist. I have to do good all the time because I can. And then he gets the and once you see him in his suit in the first Spider, you're like, Spider-Man.
He's becoming a man, kind of.
Yeah. And in Isom, we have no indication.
To add on to that, Daredevil, you see him get the shit beat out of him all the time, even though he wins.
He gets laid out for days.
He gets and then when he gets his suit, I forget how but I think that helps. That is supposed to help him a little.
He's got a bulletproof helmet.
Fighting, you can think he can survive a few more dangerous things compared to before, where those same things would knock him out for a while or something.
Yeah, he wore a ninja mask, and then he gets a bulletproof suit and a padded suit.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, when he gets hit in the back with a crowbar, when he gets hit in the back with a crowbar this time, it makes sense that he's not like he can maybe hit it and then respond quicker like that. Both of these make a lot of sense with that. So,
right. Okay. Yeah. And so with that template of like street level, even though Spider-Man is really actually powerful, he's a street level character. And so he's not like over the top or anything. He's not Superman or Hulk or something. Where he's indestructible.
They show that he can lift heavy things, but that is a huge struggle to do that too. And
sure, yeah. So he's still street level. And with Isom, it's like we don't know what the extent of his powers are, if he has projectiles or whatever. And
so no, they show him punch through a human torso, basically.
Yeah, they do like a Mortal Kombat shot into the chest.
Yeah, and then so it's like. So when he says like, if anybody gets in the way, y'all are gonna be fucked up. So like, let's say that citizens didn't clear the club, and like a lady like, oh, she's running through, and he like decapitates her with a punch. Would he be like, oh man, I killed somebody on accident? Would he be like, I don't give a shit? Because based on what we see in Isom 2, he would care, because when this chick got her.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Not get ahead of ourselves yet.
Okay, yeah, sorry, but I just thought
talking
about
that
now.
Suit.
I just thought of that now, and I'm thinking of his character and what he would do. I'm like, well, based on this, okay,
right, okay. So I mentioned like the progression of superheroes in their suits because it's like it shows a point of their progression. All right, and so this guy never solves the Jasmine situation. If anything, he's probably muddied the waters and put her more at risk, and has
causing me lots of trouble.
Has Darren lock her up, away in a holding cell somewhere. And so then he goes and gets his suit, but the guy's like, well, I'm going to redo your suit. And then he gets in, and it's like, whoa, Isom's got his suit. And that's it. That's the end of the book. He's got his suit now. And it doesn't have a mask. And he was the superhero of Floor Spark. And no one recognizes him. And he never wore a mask.
I assume that they must be going with a lot of black guys look alike. I don't know. Is that what it's supposed to be? Because otherwise you'd go, hey, I recognize that man. That guy's Isom. He's that superhero.
But yeah, there's like no one's ever like, wait, have I seen this guy before? Like if you just did that, or it's like I haven't seen him in a while. It's like a fuzzy memory.
Direct. Yeah, because not everybody's gonna actually think like, oh, it's Tony.
Not everyone's just walking streets looking for Isom.
I've had some people walk into Subway that I thought was like Woody Harrelson, but I'm like, nah, that's not them. But it looks like him.
Turns out it actually was.
They could have been though.
War of the Planet of the Apes star Woody Harrelson.
Exactly, like fucking maybe. But it's
no, Isom has like kept hair and maybe a mustache, a kept little like thin wispy black man mustache.
It's not like he grew out
on
his hair
the edge of his lip.
Changed his
so
look.
He seems well groomed, and it's you would assume this is how he's always been. Like most men, we find a style and we just stick with it till we die. So yeah, and then they show like a concert, and everyone's really into this like metal band, and then it is revealed that they're like fucking aliens or gods or some shit, and so there's an indication that like maybe their music is like Eros in Marvel Comics. Thanos' brother is like a seducer, and so like there's in the same vein they are like captivating their audience through like godly powers. There's an assumption you can make there because it's not defined yet. And so it's like, all right, so you got like Green Lantern, like alien level people in this world that just seems like thrown in to what's supposed to be like a very contained
he's supposed to be doing
story.
He's supposed to be doing a detective story technically, or just a detective,
street level,
story. A detective-like story that's like grounding you, getting you into the world, and like getting you a feel for the place. But it's like there's all these like Easter egg things being planted for future stuff, which we now know by now it's gonna have an Alpha Corp book. There's gonna be a Ira book. It's like, well, that's cool, but that's cool and all, but like their point in here seems like it's there for like a trailer thing, like you won't see them have any significance in this film really, but see him in the next one. I mean, yeah, she knocks him out, and then that's when he gets in the hospital, I guess, in this. But I feel like you could have just continued with I don't know. Did he need to be in the hospital? Was he healing, or was he knocked out? Like
I guess he just got his bell rung, and then he wakes up like he just like had a concussion. And
he's getting like, knocked out. I feel like the story might have been better if he woke up back in the club. And he's like, Darren's
like, tied up.
Darren's like, hey, what are you doing here? And then this is where you can display more of his strength level, maybe, and more of what's going on. But then
now I will interrogate you in ways some legal, some not so legal. That's how I envision the Darren character.
We imagine
talking.
It sounding somewhat like a tiny Cat Williams is how we imagine Darren speaking. So that makes it funnier for us. We like that. But, I don't know. We're just trying to say like something, because he comes back and fights and then gets away again and nothing really changes, and then he gets his suit. So it's like, what? I don't know if
the suit. The reason I mentioned the suit for the superhero template of like things you can pull from is that the superhero suit is like a moment of progression. It's like they've hit a pinnacle now, and they're now officially going to be like a hero going forward. Yeah, they've hit like a certain threshold now, and so now every story after that with the suit indicates like a certain skill set level. They've harnessed their powers, and it's triumphant. It's a triumph. It's like you won first place at the 4-H fair. Your efforts, I'm gonna brushing and feeding this cow every morning before you go to school, it's paid off. You got the blue ribbon, which would have been a good connector because he was on a ranch. Yeah, and there you go. Hey, if anyone is a valuable reviewer of this, it's Black Angus, because I am an Angus of color. I'm the cowman. Yes. And he's a rancher, so I'm reviewing a rancher product. And it's shit. Nothing about ranching seems to fucking matter in this book.
It's
What
just
a
like
missell.
that would have been something too. Like if he does see, I don't even think that he likes ranching. That Isom likes ranching because like I don't know, like it's just not even a thing for him really. When he was at the ranch, he wasn't ranching.
Oh, here's the thing too. All right, so it seems like there's some sort of tragic backstory. He's hung up his cape, and Florspark was his respective city that he was a hero for some reason, and which I have no idea where in Texas Florspark is supposed to be. I'm assuming it's a fake town. But they have like this opening scene of cops and like I guess a news report or something, and it's like, yeah, crime is just way down because of superheroes. And he has this like revolting view of like cities or something.
He's like none of it matches up. None of these people are like down to earth or like understand.
Yeah, none of it matches
earth
up
stuff. Yeah,
but yeah,
like,
that
we
is
we don't see those values in Isom though. Like this down to earth, separate from cities type of attitude.
Yeah, it's an introductory story, but it's written at like episode 5 out of like 10.
Like even if he literally
a whole bunch saved, like he's not established.
Even if he literally saved a cat, like that would be somewhat of an improvement thing.
Yeah, it's very misguided, and it's like, okay, first issue, he gets a pass. This is the shield, and it's like, okay, but again, given the reaction to criticism, it's very just watch like there's this definitely famous like I think internet podcast, might have been CNN or something. It's Ryan Johnson and Mark Hamill, and they're sitting down. It's like, oh, do you think any of like the criticism of your movie is like valid? He's like, no. Like that's the smugness I get from his deflection of any. If he would just like, because he wants to talk about like Marvel and DC and they don't care about fans and this and that. All this stuff he says is derivative of like Comicsgate, which is all about like, don't crap on your fans. Just say, sorry you didn't like my crap. I'll try to do better. Like, you can just grit it through your teeth, but you are reliant on the customer. The customer doesn't need you making entertainment. This is a luxury item.
Firstly, he like what I would want, because I would consider myself I'm rooting for Rippaverse to do well. Like I want it to do well. Like if he would admit, like, hey, if you don't like this, well, I'm
a novice and
I'm trying to improve. Like, I'm trying to not even just like if he's saying I'm hoping that you guys see improvement in my work as it goes. Like you saw Isom 1, well, I'm thinking that you might like Isom 3, but like I'm going to be improving as this goes. I've already learned a lot from the first film or from the first comic. Like showing some type of growth with it, because the way it comes off is that he already thinks that the stuff can't be improved, that it's like already as good as it can ever be, and it's like. Then he'll say, well, subjective opinions. I'm like, well, I mean, is that what we just say about Marvel and DC then? I mean, because that's not how this feels, It's like we're trying to understand what could make it better as well. Like what?
Yeah,
like, based on what's shown.
I think about. I'm paraphrasing, but Stanley, he has this thing. There's like 3 to I think 5,000 Marvel characters in their vault overall. Damn. Lots of characters. But how many does it like? You're probably talking to maybe 300 characters to varying degrees. Anyone
get recycled and used,
that anyone actually cares about. But there's always things like Polka Dot Man. Who the fuck knew about Polka Dot Man before the Suicide Squad?
If anything, he's known as one of the worst ones that nobody knows.
It's like the deep lore experts know. Oh man, that's an iconic, stupid Batman character.
If your Marvel character 3,000 or DC character 5,000, you'll be known because you're one of the lowest ones around,
right?
Maybe, yeah.
So sorry,
stigma. But yeah, so at the end of the first book here, it's like that's what we get, and it's like, okay, that's not a very satisfying ending.
Like, I got my suit.
Not a very good cliffhanger. There wasn't any new information really on Jasmine. Darren's like, we got to show that we can't get punked around. And it's like, I don't know. You guys fought off an Except type of dude with powers and successfully. I think if anything, other people would be like, wow, clubs would be like, that's a good example. How'd you do that? Because I don't want him going into my club and threatening everybody in there to get out, like and like disrupting the business. Like what, Yeah.
Papa Cotton, I am not aware of Polka Dot Man lore, But what I know in regards to the Suicide Squad is they pretty much gave James Gunn free reign, and his backstory to picking Polka Dot Man was like, well, I looked up like the worst Batman villains, and Polka
I
Dot
think
Man
his
was one of
power
them.
wasn't very interesting. However, it was
He's a
described
very
originally.
stupid character from the comics, from probably the 60s or before. It was just like throwaway villain of the week, attempts. But anyway, I mentioned stuff like that because Stanley said something to the fact of like, hey, you just got to keep trying stuff. You're going to make a lot of crap that fails before you find something good. Like Spider-Man was just kind of a hero of the week, kind of like, well, it wasn't like lots of depth on Stanley's part
I'm
making
gonna
Spider-Man.
fight a
It's just like,
rhino guy. I'm gonna
he's like,
fight a goblin guy.
he's
I'm
like,
gonna
what if
fight
there was
lizard
a man that like crawled on the walls like a bug guy, and like Steve Ditko did a lot of like the groundwork to like flesh out Spider-Man. And then he became a huge success and an icon, but it was just like these guys just throw crap on the wall, and then they start playing with elements that work. That's like a lot of success is just trial and error, And so say what you want about woke Marvel DC, blah blah blah, but at the same time, it's like, well, they're trying different things. They're trying to like, hey, let's reinvent a character. Like, there's like an iconic story or two of this one guy. Well, like that's kind of, he's just defined by that. What if we like worked around that? What if we did something different? What if we changed an element of his origin? How would that progress further? Like, play with them. Don't be so rigid. These are all things that Stan Lee talks about. He's like, this big father of comics. I think you should really heed what he says. Clearly, his stuff has worked, both literarily and then adapted to film and TV. And so I think, people get so stringent and rigid in Comicsgate, not realizing that, like, no, you need to like take chances, and a lot of them aren't going to work, but you need to always be trying to like expand and reinvent and push the boundaries of your characters. And so I don't think people are giving enough credence to like that side of the creative process, because they'll see when they do. Look at Miles Morales. Miles Morales is a tokenized Spider-Man by Bendis, that he's got a black wife and half black kids. He made this for his kids and his black daughters. And so implicitly he's kind of got a woke intent, you could say. However much you find that a woke infraction, your mileage may vary, but that is kind of the root of it. And look at where he's gone now. Miles Morales is like legitimate, and maybe not in the comics right now because of wacky stuff, but Lord Miller has taken this template and made him a real character that is just as enjoyable and distinct as Peter Parker. So it's like that wouldn't happen if you were just so like, no, you can't trial and error Spider-Man is Spider-Man. There's no other Spider people. Like people like Spider-Woman, people like Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir. Like just fucking play with this shit, They broke Superman. F Marvel. Well, that's DC, but whatever. You even say that. That's okay when you have a 22-page book for less than $5. Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. $35. Actually, you're spending I think like $52 to buy Isom per issue. And yeah, it's just everything I see. It's like, yeah, we're making money. We're doing business fulfillment. It's like, that's cool. That is a good element.
I like a lot of that energy. I like that.
But like, that just feels like, this is just corporate.
Are we backing the cow or backing the quality of the product because we like it?
Yeah. And that's the other thing frustrating. It's like, oh, like, people don't understand economics. And it's like, yeah, but like, if this is your only focus, it shows in your fucking art, because your art is so bland. And also this whole thing, like, we're not going to be political. We're not going to inject any narratives into our books. It's like, I wish you did. I wish you actually were trying to make like libertarian propaganda, because then that would actually have an angle. It would have a voice. There's no voice to this. Like Superman, depending on what area you read, Superman reads like a kind of centrist Democrat. He's there for the common people. You know, he understands the necessity of the social order and thus the system that maintains that, but cautiously, because they can steamroll the little guy. That seems to be like Superman's perspective. You can say that with the Captain America films, where it's like he's like just, oh shucks, America, and then as time goes on, he becomes very like, I don't trust the government, Tony. Like,
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same. That's good. I like that.
I want to even use a different example that's not in your wheelhouse necessarily. Like I think Eric's mentioned Dragon Ball before, because like a lot of people would bring up the criticisms of like we don't get Isom's origin in this, which I'm cool to not get his origin either right away. In Dragon Ball, you don't know that much about Goku until way the fuck later. You learn things about him way later. For the most part, he's just a little kid that's really powerful, like really strong. You don't know why and whatnot. And he runs into this girl in the forest, or she runs into him really, and he she runs him over with a car pretty much and shoots him, and he survives. He's like, oh, he's a strong kid. Like you get that right there. And then she's looking for.
We understand. We understand he's not vulnerable.
She's looking for she's looking for a Dragon Ball that he has. She's like a radar thing. There's like 7 of these that exist. And so that's what shows up.
She's looking for this kid's ball.
She wants to take it. Yeah, there's jokes like that in there, yes. But like she takes it. She wants to take it, but to him, he thinks that that's his grandpa. He's a simple bumpkin. He doesn't go to school. He's 10 years old, basically. He never went to school. Like he thinks that the ball is his grandpa now. His grandpa died a long time ago. He didn't know why. Later, it's revealed that like he did it by turning into a giant ape thing and crushed him like a werewolf, pretty much. And but like okay, so he's gonna follow her on this journey because she has the ball with her, and she could use his protection pretty much. That's motivation as to why he is going with her on this journey. I have no idea what Isom's motivation is, other than like I know that the Miss Williams phone call thing, and that's what you're doing, but what's your motivation? Like I can get called into work, but why am I going to work? What's my motivation to do something? Like what is money? Like, what do you do? You could ask me to do something, Angus, but what is my motivation to get me to do it? Like, you don't want to be yelled at. I know, okay, great, but I'm sure there's more to it than that,
Here goes Ricky with his weeb shit. Exactly.
When do I talk about weeb shit?
I don't know.
You can't get me on that.
All right, so Isom 2, the second disaster in one day.
I was stalling, so we don't
very bad day. It's like Joker, one bad day.
We need.
So, given what we've told you, Isom 2 starts with, I guess, some mergers happening. Projexis, which I guess is the company his sister Altona works for, which is what a stupid fucking name. All these names are fucking retarded. Yaira, that does not sound like a normal English
when you
name.
list all the names together, then Yaira sounds more stupid. But just alone, I thought the name was fine. But
like if it was just like, all right, normal sounding names and then Yaira, it's like, well, that's like a little bit off the spectrum. It's a little different. Okay, cool, exotic. But it's like Yaira, whatever the fucking metal band was, and then is like his band Backwards, which is so cringe. Like the music, I don't care. It's just like the actual name Backwards or whatever. It's like, fuck. It just sounds like lame punk. You know what I mean? Altona. The villain is Darren. That's cringe because it's like that has like no bite to it. It's like, oh, Darren in accounting, like, oh, Kevin, look out for Kyle. Darren.
Kyle.
Hoodwinked. One of my favorite animated movies, Hoodwinked. The bunny ends up being the evil guy in the film. Spoiler, it's like a 20-year-old movie now, so fuck you. But Andy Dick plays the villain bunny, and it's funny because he's got these henchmen, and one was like named Boris, but then he's like, wait, what's your name? And he's like, Kyle. He's like, Kyle, change your name. No one's scared of Kyle. He's like, oh, look out for Kyle. He mocks them, and it's like, exactly. That's what I think when I hear Darren.
Lugnar. or something. There you go.
Something, even if it sounds
Boris.
clunky, as long as
Boris
it
or
sounds
something.
guttural, like Dwight Schrute has a thing. It's like, why do they call it murder? And it's like, because R's are menacing. Otherwise, it would be called muck duck. Like,
That's kind of a good point. Yeah, murderer, muck
Yeah.
duck. Yeah.
yes, Darren is his
name.
name. Yeah, Darren makes the empire. Some of it not so legal. Yeah, Dragon Ball was situational. I wasn't expected to create a whole universe.
No, he's saying. Well, I'll respond to that. So that doesn't matter because I mean that's been brought up as to why, like not all of his origin was explained at the beginning. And my point was we understand what Goku's motivation is pretty quickly, regardless of the information about his origin that we get later on. Like you get the information that you need right there. As to where in this as parallel, we don't. Like,
yeah, you don't like this deflection of like, well, you like this thing and they didn't explain it right. It's like, no, but you already start understanding limitations or the limitlessness of the character. Like you have to already start defining that. You can't just like,
because
it can't be ambiguous all the time. Like Spawn is ambiguous, but you're reading it through his eyes.
I want to even piggyback off you with that. Like with Goku, like how you first meet him defines pretty much how he is. He's a lot of people that like grew up with Dragon Ball Z don't get that. Like why does he spare the villains? Why does he want to fight them later? That's how he is. That's his base simple thing. He likes to fight. He's a simple bumpkin. Never went to school. He likes to fight. He's not like I'm Superman hero. I like to be justice. They only react. Wait. They only react.
Who is
to
the
like?
Who's the big doofus in what's that Western comedy? Blazing Saddles. It's like his name's not Lugnar, but it's something funny like that, where it's like, who's the big brute doofus?
I don't remember.
Fuck. I mean, Google this.
I need to see that one at some point. But yeah, like the point is that so part of how you see him kind of defines how he is later, and he grows throughout the show as well. But like that kind of core thing is like he at the end of the day he likes to fight. He's an uneducated kid, and that's just kind of how he grows up. Like that's information that you get with Isom. It's like he likes to ranch, I guess, because he's on a ranch, but he's working out on a ranch, so he likes to work out. Okay, but like, and then he's gonna go do a favor, begrudgingly, and then like. Okay, like, and when he's at the club, he seems to be okay with the idea. If a citizen were to be in his way, he will not regret killing them as collateral damage if they're in the way. I gave my warning, y'all didn't move. Like, would that justify you killing an innocent person though? Like, I don't like, and if that's the kind of character he is, that all right, but I don't know if it's supposed to be presented as he's a good guy.
Mongo is the villain's name. He's like the big doofus.
Yeah.
Headley Lamar.
Fight Mongo. Mongo, remove them.
Yeah. They literally talked to him in broken English. He's a retard. He just likes to fight. Like he gets a kick. He punches a horse.
Yeah. That's Goku likes to fight. When the biggest villain they face, Vegeta at the time, like it was barely everybody's like pretty like 4 of their guys are dead, and like they're all like pretty much gotten the crap out of them. And then there's one chance to kill him. Goku's like, no, don't kill him. Well, why? Why not? He killed all our friends. Like, because I want to fight him again later. He's pretty good. Like he becomes a good hero later, but it's like he let him go because he wants to fight him again. That's it. Like he spared the villain because he wants to fight him, not because he thinks of anything good in him. He wants to fight again later, and that's Goku. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So Isom 2. There's the merger going on, and I think Darren's there himself, and
Darren is there too. Yeah.
Assaults Altona, he like slaps her or something, and then they all step in and kick him out. And I guess her boss like, I could have stopped that. I knew that was going to happen. I let it happen. I shouldn't have let it happen. It's like, okay, weird.
So what this does though is doesn't really feel like it continues off of the first one. Like this could have been how it starts, and I don't think anything changes. It's just like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah, it's like, well,
It wasn't like cause and effect of like, hey, these guys are coming in now at this time because Isom came in and he was like wrecking their stuff and words gotten around, and we can't have that happen. We got to move a little bit faster now, so we're gonna merge quicker because of the actions of
Right.
Isom looking for her. That would be like a connecting thread of some kind. But this is just
because Jasmine is still in the air. Jasmine is unresolved, and spoiler, never mentioned in the second book.
Yeah, it's just like, so it's like, what is the connective thread here at all? Is there supposed to be one? Because it doesn't seem to be.
Well, he's got his suit, and he's wearing the suit in this next one, and that's because the first one had him get the suit.
But it's like the whole Jasmine thing is what's
connection.
supposed to be the fucking point of him going into action.
Shut up.
So good. That's why he gets the suit, because he's the thing and going in the.
Yeah, the whole reason he's gotten into these multiple fights with Except for Darren, who's on.
Why does he even get the suit at the end of the first one anyway? Because once he saves Jasmine, then what? He's gonna be a hero again, or who's gonna run the ranch? What was that? I don't know. Anyway, just okay.
But yeah, so there's a fire at no. The door is ajar at his ranch. He goes back home.
No. Because I think first before that, this is the therapy, right?
Right. Okay, yeah. So we get a flashback via him like talking therapy to someone.
Yeah.
And it's like years ago. There's like this building falling apart because of, I guess, this alien predator looking like dreadlocked alien man. Chadran. His name is, it might be Shadran or something, but it's spelled Chadran. It's like, so I get making names is hard, but like, just like with when you write anything, you need to read it out loud to make sure it's not clunky.
Yeah.
That's a real problem with all the dialogue in both books is like, if you just read it out loud, you would know how to write it naturally.
Well, and sometimes having like a theme of some kind to like as to how you named some characters can help make that more interesting too. Like I'm gonna use Dragon Ball again. The reason why Goku, his Saiyan name is Kakarot. That's just a play off of carrot. Vegeta, these are Saiyans. Saiyans are named off of vegetables. Vegeta with vegetable, and his brother is named Tarble. Vegetable, vegetable. But Vegeta sounds cool. That's an interesting enough name. Vegeta. It's easy to say. You get it. There you go. His brother's name is Raditz. And it's like, instead of radish, like it's easy to see where the name came from as well.
Yeah, no, well, it's cool because it's like it sounds familiar. It's just like a little twist on a familiar root.
Well, yeah, and there's even King Piccolo in Dragon Ball, like when he's evil, he has little mutant children that are all named after like instruments essentially. Like Piccolo alone, that's an instrument, Piccolo. And then he has a kid and he names him piano and drum and something else. But those even like that may sound like goofy, but like when you see them, it's like, okay, well, it works enough. Like, the way that they use it in context and stuff, I don't know, just the way that was named, the way, and you could see where they're named. Weiss, Beerus.
Oh,
these are all
here's another name.
Alcohol stuff,
Here's another name. I don't know how you're supposed to say it, but it's like Gooding or Goodying.
Yeah, Goody. We're going back and forth on this because there's no example of how to pronounce that, and it's just like, and it's spelled Gooding, and then
Gooding.
In a different thing for his like subscription, it's spelled with an I at the end, like
Goodying,
Dying, and it's like so Goodying or Goodying, like what? That's annoying to try to pronounce because it's not very clear how it's pronounced.
Yeah, and
that's where you could even make a joke like, "Hey, Goodying, hey, that's not how you pronounce my name. Say Goo," and then could make a joke there.
Yeah, you could write in the lore of like, oh yeah, like sure, this subscription is great, except for that like one place, Good Dying, Texas. And you could like make some sort of allusion to like Waco with David Koresh and the FBI burning the compound. Where it's like, oh yeah, they've worked out well, except that one time immense tragedy happened thanks to them. But yeah, he's going through therapy. He's recounting this. I guess buildings crumbling. There's some kids in there, and I guess it's like a Comic-Con or some shit. They're wearing suits, but they don't seem like they're actually superheroes at all.
But the way that he narrates it implies that they try to be heroes too, but they're just not like equipped for this type of scenario.
Yeah, and essentially fights this like alien thing with like dreads, and it kills the girl.
It crushes her face.
head.
It was a good, and that was a good little like silhouette they have of that, and his reaction. He's like, "No, like, oh no, shit." And I'm like, okay, I like that. I like that little bit.
And this is why he quit. But then I feel like you're kind of getting a perspective of. I'm assuming this is a perspective of Eric, just like you read Gandalf, and it's like I think this is probably Tolkien trying to talk like his viewpoints, you know. So through this guy saying like, well, just because people die doesn't mean you quit, because like if it wasn't for you being there, more people would have died that day. And so it seems to be the impetus of what made him quit was seeing collateral damage, which
surprises me, because in Isom 1, he was totally okay if there was going to be collateral damage when he goes in that club to beat the crap out of all security guards. If anybody's in his way, you're in my way. Like,
yeah, some of this feels like Man of Steel, because I remember hearing about this in news before I ever got into like YouTube stuff or following superhero news and movie talk stuff. I remember like the controversy kind of obscurely about Man of Steel and all the death in it. And this was a big conversation. Like, how can you allow this, you know? And then like the angle was, well, it's like Greek tragedies. Lots of death happened before, like, you know, something is resolved, or the number of death enforces the level of tragedy, something like that. And so then the next film is like through Batman's perspective, and then, you know, it's like, oh, well, let's bring Doomsday to this island where it's not populated. It's like, I feel like this is them writing to say, hey, audience, we're not risking people. Like, instead of it doesn't feel
even the problem.
It doesn't feel organic. It like that dialogue in the film, BVS doesn't feel organic given the first film.
Yeah, and as to contrast, in Age of Ultron, Iron Man's trying to fight a mind-controlled, you know, crazy Hulk, and he's scanning buildings for empty buildings.
Yeah, he's like, empty buildings. Like, all right, buy this building.
And then he buys an extra thing they didn't have to do, but they did with his character, that he purchases the building before he destroys it by throwing the Hulk in there, which was great. And again, it's like you don't need to go to an unpopulated area. He fights in a city here, and you see Iron Man try to take measures to protect people or to like direct the Hulk in ways that gets it away from people.
Well, in the first Avengers, when this is their first time out together, and they're all
I was using him as just one example, like
right. But in the first Avengers,
by himself,
they're like, all right, you know, like, why he tries to look up like, all right, you need to do this and that, and he's like, why should I take orders from you? And then like he like takes out a Chitauri or two, and then he like turns around like, all right, guys, we need to push everyone back to this street and make a fucking perimeter. He says exactly what Captain America says.
Let's go underground, not in the buildings. Let's stay away from windows. Like, you know, yeah.
It's funny because it's like, oh, why I listen to a caped idiot, and then it's like, oh, that caped idiot saving the day.
It's also not even just that. It's like, you know, even in that, Tony's trying to lead like the Chitauri away from people still. Like it's a constant thing. I was using him as an example because he's doing it by himself better than Superman, who is way the fuck more capable than him. And it's like he's doing all his best. And I think he was gonna hit the Hulk with like an elevator, but he was waiting for people to get out. He's like, come on, get out. Okay. And then you know, like it's that type of thing that makes us really care about the character and want to see him do well. You know, I feel like Isom would throw the elevator at the Hulk with the people inside, not giving a fuck.
Oh, wasn't it in The Incredibles? Mr. Incredible's like, you know, he's got to go to his wedding, but then he's like fighting crime and saving people. There's like a fucking old lady taking her sweet time. There's an old lady
and there's a cat in a tree, and he's trying to get the cat and save
the
old
lady. He's like trying to
shoot
the fucking cat.
And he's like trying to do three things at once. Yeah, he's trying to get the cat, and he sees the old lady crossing the street.
Sees her cross the street, and the chase is going to hit her.
Toward her. And so, yeah, he just lifts the tree up, flings the cat out, and then slams the tree in front so she's safe and stops the thing at once. That was another great thing of like you get a lot of his character right there. Like, that's good. And like I don't know, I feel like Isom would be totally cool. Like if Darren was in front of him and there was like an innocent person in front of him, he'd punch through the innocent person to punch Darren. Is what the impression I get.
That makes me think of The Office. They never really give you an explanation, but Michael Scott hates the HR guy Toby, and it's funny because everyone feels bad for Toby, but then when they have scenes where it's set up where like he's going to interact with them when they're sympathetic for him, they are like, not now, Toby, God, like. So he's just like a constant butt for everyone for no reason.
Yeah.
And so he never gets a fair shake, but that's like the humor of it. And they're in like having a conference meeting for some reason, and somehow it comes up where it's like, if I was in a room with you, Hitler, and Osama bin Laden, and I only had 2 bullets, I would shoot you twice. And everyone's like, "Oh, Mike, no." Toby sucks. Hey, I want to read Toby's his detective books that he mentioned in the later seasons.
Yeah, but it's like so in Isom 2 though, like what we get with his backstory of like why he hung up his suit was that he saw an innocent person get her face crushed, and like that kind of like demoralized him to not want to save people anymore, I guess, or fight crime, fight monsters, I don't know. But then when we see him in Isom 1, it's like, this isn't the same. I don't understand this being the same character. Like the way he behaves is not like how he's presented.
Right. This feels like BVS,
I don't
where they
understand
purposely mention, hey, audience, we're in a unpopulated island, so no people are dying in this fight.
Yeah, like in this film, in this comic,
that's what it feels like, where it's like, oh, I didn't write understandable motivation of why he actually hung up his, because like in the pitch on one of the covers, it's like, find out why Isom quit. I'm not joking.
Is it supposed to be more tied to like his failure to save her? That was the first person he directly failed to save, and that's why he quits. But I feel like that's such a day one move of like, you know, like if people give Superman shit for all the people, the thousands of lives that died in there, I don't know. Like it's just like, yeah, he continues, even though it's still, you know, still doesn't really improve much.
Yeah.
But,
so Isom 2 cover A, where he's fighting Chadran. It says there's got like this little stamp. It's like, find out why did Isom quit, and then featuring the first appearances of Sydney Bloodruth, Gooding, Chadran.
God, no. See, when you say it like that too, it's funny as it is. Like, the reason why he quit. It's like this situation with him with the Chadman.
It's like, oh wait, that was it.
Well, no, it's like it would. This is. I feel like this is a writing thing that he doesn't understand to do. Like, what links this personally to him as a character? Like, so it's not saying that he can't be affected by a stranger being killed and he's trying to save them, but like if for him to choose to be retired, I feel like it'd be more of maybe a choice of some kind of like he chooses to do like some type of choice he makes in this battle with him causes her to be killed. Like he says, you know, make one more step and I'll crush her skull. You know, if you you know, back off, then I'll back off of her. And he goes, no, I'm not going to. Okay. You know, like maybe that could be more of a cause of like, oh, my choosing to like not walk away is what caused her to get killed. So I'm gonna hang up my suit, and I like that's me trying to make it better from what's there.
Yeah, no, it's really weak. I mean, you know, Gail Simone, famous wokester writer, she got her fame by I guess cataloging or blogging about fridging or something, which is,
oh yeah,
you know, the classic, oh, you kill the hero's dame. They
call even like Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen fridging practically, and it's like, really? Okay,
sure.
Because they die for the purpose of motivating our main character. They think that's bad.
Honestly, that doesn't motivate him though. It's like,
well, it helps. They
that just that just gives him a clean slate. He's not stuck to Tatooine now. He has no ties anymore.
But that's what I mean though. It's like there wasn't much character development of them in that time, and their death served as a way to do something with our main character. It's like that's how they count fridging. Like the wife being in the fridge or whatever is like, oh, now he's oh no, she was only here to be killed so that the villain can be more worse or something. It's like, okay, sure. Anyway, though.
Yeah, really weak motivation for him quitting, but I feel like it's like I think it's very clear Eric made this thing where it's like, all right, I want this guy who's hung up and he's got to like come back, and he didn't really put thought into what was the impetus, and then he's like making a deadline for himself arbitrarily, and so he's like, well, that'll work, like which happens sometimes. Like you read comics and you understand they got like 30-day deadlines issue to issue or less for stories. So it's like, issue to issue, you get contradictions in the standard like monthly or bi-weekly releases because they're just, pumping out generally mediocre work, because it's like they don't have the time to like craft an Oscar-winning script. They're all right. This week, the super person goes to Transylvania. Like that. That is the thing in Swamp Thing. The first issues of Swamp Thing are like Alec Holland and his wife are experimenting shit for like essentially fertilizer stuff out in the swamp, and then the Soviets or spies for the Soviets or something like that fuck with them, try to like buy them off and threaten them, and then an accident happens. His wife gets killed. He gets doused in his fertilizer chemicals and falls into the swamp, and he ends up becoming part of the swamp. He becomes Swamp Thing, and then after that he goes to like essentially Transylvania and fights his main bad guy is like some like warlock wizard guy, Arcane. So it becomes silly. It's like silly gothic villains week to week for a while until he kind of find his niche. But Swamp Thing is implicitly kind of this gothic character. That's just like one example.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so he's
he goes back to the ranch and notices the door is open. He's like, Sam, where you at, bro? And then goes inside, and we assume these are eyes looking at him, but I guess they're just pieces of these monkey goats' foreheads, I guess.
Yeah, that's a funny continuity problem artistically, is the way they show these monkey things physically kind of changes panel to panel sometimes across the story, but also it's like the way they show their like glowing eyes, and you're like, oh, what's that? But then you see that like they have these like bioluminescent glowing patches, like 4 patches
that
on
weren't
top of their
glowing
head.
in the previous thing,
and they're not glowing. It's like, why are they not glowing when you've drawn them to be like glowing?
They're
like
glowing the
their
same.
eyes?
They look like the same amount of like light as the eyes. So why would they not be glowing? Do they?
So that's like a
turn on and
huge,
off?
just like
it's not a huge
oversight.
This isn't like, and this is why Isom 2 sucks. Like that's not the point. It's just a small. We would do anything. I'm going to be reviewing a lot of comic books soon. Like this is just one of many essentially that I'm going to be going through. I go through it like I do a film sometimes. Like
apparently, Dick and Vito might be doing a biggest problem bonus episode. The biggest problem in Isom 2. I'm excited.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I can't wait
tomorrow,
till they do it.
Right?
Well, the show is tomorrow, but their bonus episode will probably be a week or two from now.
Yeah, so he has a little tussle with these guys, and they get one scratch on him. One grips him, and he's like, "Ow, my fucking shoulder." Okay. That's already a little bit better than an Isom 1, where it's like, okay, so a super strong thing can make you bleed. Okay.
Do you bleed?
That's better than nothing. His shoulder, he's gripping his shoulder even in like later in the next page or two or so. He's like gripping his shoulder. So it's like, okay, ouchie, that hurt. And then I'm trying to understand this. So these things, like, he will be seeing you soon. And then they set themselves on fire, it looks like. I don't know how or what, they like power up like Dragon Ball style, and they're like on fire. And then they make a hole in the ground and they get away.
They disappear. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, fuck. and then the homeboy
Sam's missing.
Yeah,
and
Sam's missing.
Gooding comes, and here's the thing: Gooding is like running in like he's dressed like the Fallout guy, like the cartoon character image guy of Fallout. He's kind of dressed like that, and he's got like a robot dog as well. And so, I mean, I was reading it like he was a robot man, but I actually don't know if he's a robot or not.
I don't think he's supposed to be at all. I think he's supposed to be human.
It makes
human
it
with a
better,
robot
honestly,
psyche.
if he's like this autistic robot that like doesn't understand tone, and so he's always kind of like, well, if you advance your subscription, we can proceed with an investigation. Like
for a $50 super chat, I'm willing to put out this fire.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, is like I don't know why this is a thing at all.
I can see that being a thing, but I feel like
no, because like
better...
he's like anarcho-capitalist, but it's easier to just generalize it to a normal person. Well, he's a libertarian, and so it's like he's got this full page like ad in the book for the guy of like Gooding Services or whatever, where it's like for as low as $49.99 a month, you get fireman coverage and all this other crap, criminal investigations.
Well, so does Avery have the subscription to him?
I'm assuming that's why he's there.
Because it's not exactly clarified for that. Because he says it'll cost you more or something. Of course, it'll cost you a little extra.
Well, if you want this extra perk, it'll cost you. That's what I'm saying.
So Avery has the subscription to him. Okay.
So that's like it's like OnlyFans. You pay for the foot in the door, and then you have to pay per upload afterward. But you have to have that initial.
Yeah. Remember, we cut away from that though, and go to Alpha Core.
for I don't know.
For literally like
talking about Yaira,
and it was like that. I thought.
Oh, that's another fucking stupid name. One of the guys is named Santuan or Santuan.
Santuan. My name is Santuan. I think
but it's I'm stressing because I'm helping you understand how it's spelled. Santuan.
Yeah.
The name is Santuan. Chadran, Santuan, Yaira, Gooding.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, so I don't know. We go to the Alpha Core and they're like, Yaira, I don't know about her. She might be all right, but sometimes she isn't. I fought her before, but she was okay. I let her go. It's like all these things. And it's like, I thought something about this was going to relate to what's going on. But this is like one of those things where if that was removed, the Alpha Core thing, nothing about the story changes at all. Like they add nothing. I thought it was going to be like, they're like, we saw another goat monster today or something. Like even a little bit like, even the superhero task force has heard of them. Or they're like, we got like another Bigfoot sighting of a goat man monkey thing, Like I'm trying to think of Hellboy we just saw some of that shit.
That's good. Well, do you really expect good names from a person named his company Ripaverse? Well, I mean, that's like a gamer handle, right? Isn't that the root of his name? Is like a gamer handle, Young Ripa 59.
I think so.
So it's like it's whatever, but yeah, then it's like
Ripaverse. Personally, I'm tired of people adding the word verse onto things. I just personally have seen too much of it now. Just like with fandom onto things, like fandom things and verse, it just needs to stop.
Well, honestly, it sounds kind of lazy. It's like, well, I'm Young Ripa, so Ripaverse. It sounds like a shrug kind of reaction. Yeah, whatever. Like,
I don't know. That's for another time, perhaps. But
oh my God, this is the other thing. Repeat it. So if I'm asking you in the chat, like my sketchbook, have you seen Force Awakens? Because there's a little thing that ends up being big retroactively, and that is when they introduce Luke Skywalker's lightsaber after she has the Force vision, and it's like, well, how'd you get this? And it's like, that's a story for another time. And then it's like, 2 episodes later, we never know the fucking story. And so retroactively, it's bad writing, even though it's like JJ setting up all these fun threads for the next guy to play with. And that is a way to make the world feel lived in, where it's like there's so much I don't have time to tell you. There's too many things to play with. Like that's the appeal for me for Avatar, the two films, is like there's so much scientific fiction to play with that like 3 hours isn't enough time. Repeatedly in various dialogues and interactions, there is like, we don't have time for that. We'll deal with that later. You know, it's like it's
which to me is worse than to me it's worse than not answering it. But they point out that they're not going to answer it now, and that you should expect an answer later. Which that just alone it just makes it kind of odd to me. But yeah, that's kind of like a trope within this, I guess. Is
yeah, it's a repeated trope. And the other thing, so in the first book when he fights the Except the second time, he he's like, I came to your handler with respect, and I was met with disrespect, and that cannot be tolerated. And in this book, totally unrelated characters, they're having this conversation in the car, and he's like, his underling's like, you're a respectable man, but that doesn't mean much to the disrespectful. And it's like, you see these recurring themes with unrelated characters. It reminds me of Dark Knight Rises. I really like Dark Knight Rises, but one thing that it sticks out to me is the dialogue. Like there's that line where it's like, the master key for a jewel thief with a record, for a clean slate. That line, there's like 3 people in that movie that say it, and they're unrelated. So why would they all say the same phrase? You know, that's like bad writing. Not that the whole movie's bad, but the fact that like you didn't realize you're writing the same dialogue for different unrelated characters' interactions. And that's how these two things, like the respect thing, seems to be a big theme motivator for this overarching story from Eric. And then this repeated, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
makes it hilarious to me. So like I'm very entertained by how like
we find
below
it funny.
Amateur this is.
We find it funny like The Room, kind of, with that kind of stuff.
It's really annoying when characters act like they can't talk and do other things at the same time. Yeah. Funny thing is that lightsabers wasn't Luke's either. It was his father's lightsabers. Well, sure, but that was effectively Luke's blue lightsaber.
Right.
You never watch Star Wars like, oh, that's Darth Vader's. No, it's Luke's. You know, he's taken the mantle of his father. Anyway,
but no, so they talk about Yaira. They do mention like she dropped a dude on a car. That was crazy. Why'd she do that? I don't know. And they're like, she could handle a lot more than that. And then we interrupted someone.
Wait. So, Alpha Core. So they do this like quick introduction of Alpha Core with Yaira, and it's like they fight, and so it's like I'm giving, because I was under the impression that the people in the club discussing villainy to whatever extent were Alpha Core, like out of uniform.
I don't think so.
And so I don't know. It seemed like I was assuming those were the same people off the clock, not in uniform.
Nope.
And but regardless if that was the case or not, I assume that Alpha Core might be a bit like gray and, you know, do things maybe not so legal, as Darren would say sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting Yaira, and it just seems like why? And so that left me the impression that these are going to be kind of maybe dirty, because the cops seem to be in league with like superheroes, and that there might be a question of like foul play in some way of government association with superheroes.
This seems to be like a superhero version of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. That's what I kind of get off of this. I don't know. I don't need to be reminded of your investigative talents. Braxwell spoke highly of them. In truth,
Braxwell, that's another stupid fucking name. I don't doubt there's some famous black athlete, at least at the collegiate level, with the last name Braxwell. I don't believe it's not a real name somewhere, or could be, but it's just like none of these names naturally flow. Braxwell, Like you have to enunciate Brax, and then you're doing a totally different motion with your mouth to say well. Even if you try to like smooth out Braxel, it's just my brain's have to like think about how to say it. It's not natural.
Know, but point is, they're like, I don't know, she might be a threat. She's been stronger before, and we interrupted something. And point is, this doesn't really have anything to do with anything. It's just like
also the way she talks, like, oh, I did some initial research. It's like I Googled her.
Pretty much the implication. It's like I'm going to need some training for the drill. Okay, and just like breast your findings. And have more detailed reports on documentation. It's like, okay, so this added nothing to the Isom part of the story, really, other than they noticed that she threw him on a car.
Yeah, it's like that was interesting because, like, again, how I was perceiving Alpha Core and assuming the bad people in the club were Alpha Core people.
Like if they even mentioned, like, somebody said, some people were tweeting that there's like a dragon over their town. It's crazy people again. But then in another town, completely unrelated, they were also saying that there was, kind of nearby. Like, that's some weird thing we should check out. That could hint, like, later when you see Bloodroot's thing with her dragons or something, like in the castle town. I don't know, like, try to have something that links to something I'm trying to think of, that can link in this story or help, or like, those monkey goat.
Dude, that's the funny thing. We're jumping ahead, but
I don't know.
The goodieing, I like to read him as a robot. He gives coordinates to Isom, and so Isom in his suit drives his Ford truck to like desolate coordinates with no cell reception. And then, there's a castle, and it seems like he was not expecting that. But Gooding sent him to this location. So it's like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, I don't know. Thank God there ain't another set of those to light the actual house on fire. Like, okay, he's going to sleep, and he gets a phone call. Darren showed up to my job. Oh no, what? Oh yeah, Darren from the first comic. Somehow he got into my office with his crew. I'm okay, but it's like, okay, so this is story progression. And it's like, yeah, it got me pretty. It mentioned she got punched, and it's Lincoln. That's Unicron for a sec. It's a Lincoln.
Unicron.
That's my bad looking at it. It's Lincoln.
Unicron, Lincoln, tomato.
I know that was just tough to hear, but I want you to know that your sister and niece are safe. We dealt with Darren or whatever. It's like, all right.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, like, here and there he'll have these kind of like black reaction responses. Like that. It's so fucking cringe. I hate hearing that. Like, literally the amount of space to say is the same as just saying all right.
Yeah.
It's needless lazy. It's one thing to say like Philly instead of Philadelphia. It's like Philly's 2 syllables versus like 5. It's like, okay, that makes sense. It's an abbreviation. It's colloquial. It's vernacular. But or like no cap. And it's like, I looked it up what no cap, and it's like no lie. And it's like lie and cap are the same amount of letters. Why? Like, you're not simplifying. It's already simple.
Right. Okay, hold on. And that's okay. I know that you're on that still, but I'm just looking at the comic, so I have to comment on this. So he gets told that his sister got punched in the face, right? And by Darren, and the guy is like, Lincoln's like, all right, he got dealt with, whatever, but that's not okay with Isom. He's like, angry, I'm going to kill him. So I'm trying to imagine this, because he doesn't have a secret identity at all. He's fully public. If he were to go in and like punch Darren in the chest, would cops or Alpha Core people not be after him? Like, let's just pretend that he went through with it. Like, shouldn't the goal be to like take care of him legally? That's kind of how sometimes you
could not so
kill.
legally.
Yeah, no, you could take him in and break his arm or something. I don't know, but it's like, okay, so it's just like, I don't know. It's okay. He doesn't need. I'm not criticizing it for this. I'm just saying his character doesn't seem all that bright. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to kill him, and it's like, I don't think that's like I'm going to pretend to kill him, or I'm not really going to, because based on the first book, I think he would kill people that did nothing wrong to him at all, but as long as they're in his way, and he says, get out of the way, and if they don't, then then that's on you if you get punched. Like, what kind of thing is that? That's still insane to me.
Yeah, well, no, I mentioned the IT shit because it'll have shit like that, but then almost every other time it's like the tone reads like very in depth, overly.
My hypothesis concludes that I am he's
it's like he's
more eloquent than he actually does, though.
Yeah, it's like most of the dialogue from Isom reads pretty white, and if anything, overstated, like saying a paragraph instead of one sentence to address like a conclusion response to something.
Yeah,
and so it's just like it's just tonally jarring, you know, seeing that like yo-yoing effect off and on of like
it's not consistent. It's not consistent.
Yeah, it's not consistent. That's annoying. Like, if you want him to be like street level, you know, kind of Ebonics talking, like do that, but like you can't. It's you know, you can say, well, these are nitpicks. And it's like, well, no, but these nitpicks inform the whole fucking thing. You know, when you start adding up all of these nitpicks,
you got some pretty big cuts and you're bleeding out pretty good.
Yeah. Keep on talking to him real quick. I just gotta grab a can of snuff.
Sure. So my sketchbook says, so does he have that one black character that tries to use big words he don't understand? I don't think so. Not exactly like that. But we do go back to Darren a little bit and to the Projexis guy a little bit, and they're talking with each other. There seems to be some confrontation with Darren, and the guy's not listening entirely. You know, you're not paying me for intel, so I'm not going to give you that. And then he's like, I'm giving you all this money though, so what the heck? You know, you should do what I say. You know, you've got the nerve to withhold information. Get out. This contract is void. This is done. Good luck finding any work that's remotely comparable. And it's like, all right, cool. And then he, at the end of this whole little spiel thing with Darren, says, make sure Jasmine makes it back to my office ASAP. That's a reference to Jasmine from the first book. That's our one reference to that, I think, in this book. It's like, why is she important at all still? I don't know. But she is name dropped at least once. For sure. But yeah, then as we progress here, then we get to another part that's not too exciting, but I'm gonna wait for Angus to get back to see what he wants to comment on this one right here. How many pages are in the second book? Over 100. I think it's like 106. I think. I don't know. Let me actually look. Dude, comics don't seem to have like numbered pages, do they? Comic books don't ever have numbered pages, do they, Angus?
Depends.
Because I so far have not ever seen them on comics, and it's kind of annoying though, because I'm like, I can't tell you what page to go to because there's no page number to go to.
112 page book. Now, how much of that is actually how to say it?
Story, content.
Yeah, how much of that story versus this is just the total page count of introductory page, fan art, whatever in the back. I don't know. Is there an ad in the back for the fucking
no
Etsy store?
No.
Yeah.
Or the jewelry thing? No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Nope. But so he does mention Jasmine, Darren. He mentions it once. He says, make sure that guy leaves and make sure Jasmine makes it back to my office ASAP. after he fires that dude.
Oh yeah, he fires the accept.
Yeah, fires that guy that didn't give him the intel, and then he's like, "Make sure Jasmine gets back." And that's our one thing with Jasmine in the whole.
And then yeah, guy's like, "Well, but sir, are you sure?" He's like, "You talk back, and you'll be fine too."
Yeah. And then we go to a WrestleMania arena thing. And it's
yeah, did that go anywhere? I'm trying to remember.
Shungite. They're talking smack. This guy wants to fight pretty good. And then they cut to people that are watching him on TV, and that's the last we see of that. Then now we're with the guys on the elevator. And he gets betrayed, I guess. I think this chick is Yaira here. That's like in her human form, I guess. Even though she doesn't really wear a mask either. But I guess the glowing eyes and outfit are different, jarring. So it's whatever. There's a change of clothes in the trunk.
I can't believe how much of the book is with fucking Bloodworth and stupid monkeys.
I left those schematics in the office. I wanted to look them over tonight. Of course, I considered, but the consultant role is working out perfectly. I do appreciate you carving me out my own space.
Okay, yeah. They're like showing wrestling, and then it cuts out of the wrestling into it's a TV screen showing the wrestling, and now we're with Lincoln.
Yeah, but it was just like, what was the point of that? The wrestling part? You'll find out next time.
I think maybe time. One of the alien gods is into wrestling or something.
I guess, but it's like it's one of those. It's another time thing of like it didn't actually have anything to do with this story.
Well, the fact that he put
later what it's for,
he put 4 pages worth of building up this Larry Shung guy in his like smack talk for the crowd. And then it cuts out into the 5th page that it's on TV. And then we're seeing previous established Lincoln guy. And it's like, at most, a normal comic would maybe give 1 page of like, there's like something on TV. And then actually we zoom out. That's not the focus. This is just going on in the background where our character we're concerned with is.
Yeah, or something. Yeah. Or I thought they were going to reveal that like Jasmine.
This reminds me of
thing with Darren or something.
You know how Scorsese cried about Marvel movies? Like they're not films; they're roller coasters. Yeah. And it's like this is from the faggot that makes The Irishman, a 3-hour movie on Netflix about old, fucking gangsters. Like it's not an action-packed film; it's just boring. And it's like 3-hour movie, like that is like you're besmirching Marvel as like lesser than, it's not real art is what you're insinuating. And then it doesn't have restraint is also an illusion you can make. And then he makes a 3-hour movie.
Yeah,
it's like wow. And that's the Willy Wonka, I think, was like a shoestring budget and a time hack movie, and it's amazing. What an all-time classic film. Star Wars, they had to keep extending the deadline for that movie and increasing the budget.
Jaws had full-on malfunctions with the thing they needed to show the most.
Yeah, the movie's about a shark, and they couldn't get it to work, so they had to work around a defective shark. And it's like
a lot of Tremors is them sitting on rocks or on roofs while they discuss stuff.
Yeah, working around limitations. Hellboy. What would Hellboy be? I think Gilmore would care about the story, but what would Hellboy 1 and 2 be if he had way more free reign with CGI instead of being like, I want to have as much of this in camera as possible, or like Chris Nolan? What would Oppenheimer be if Chris Nolan didn't direct it? It would be all the CGI of nuclear fusion and bombs and stuff instead of like a cerebral, intense historical biopic.
Yeah.
Limitations, and I feel like, especially with all this money, that there's like just there's not restraint, and it shows. Like, yeah, show don't tell, but you can show too much.
Well, sometimes what you show, is doing more damage, doing more harm than
It's
good.
like,
Sometimes.
oh, I like wrestling, so we're gonna like start building up the wrestling element in this world. And it's like, but what, why?
See,
And
like I thought. See, this is another thing where I thought it was going to connect. Where like, okay, like something to do with this is going to, like, I don't know, like this guy is maybe calling out Isom or Darren or somebody around here. I don't know, and then we cut to somebody else is reacting to this, and you can see. I don't know. I'm trying to. This seems so out of place here. I don't know what it's connecting to. And it's like if it's the well, you'll know later. It's like fuck. Is that what everything is with this? You'll just know later. Like you want to buy the next book and then get an answer because like I'm trying to be invested in this one, but it's hard when there's just random things in here.
wait, Martin is jealous. Period. What do you mean?
Martin Scorsese, like.
Okay. No, sorry. I was in Isom mode, so I'm like, wait, there's no Martin in Isom.
It's like, I thought maybe like Darren and Jasmine or something were at this event watching it or some shit maybe, and then it's like, hey, that's where she is, which would still be kind of dumb, but that would at least explain why it's there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 or 6 pages on that, and that amounts to nothing.
Yeah, again, it could be a transitional scene, but you might give like probably half a page, if not,
there should be
maybe
something of
one
substance
whole page
in it. I mean, he says, I'll tell you what about bringing your punk ass, bring your punk ass out here and tell the great people of Forest Park you're no longer the champion, whatever. He's like whining and complaining about not being recognized. I don't know, but it's just like,
see, the thing is, I am a Cyberfrog fan. I love Cyberfrog 1. Cyberfrog 2 is very disappointing to me for what I expected this story to be building to. I was like, what the hell is this? I mean, the art's great, but I just feel like, wow, like Cyberfrog has such a kind of like a pure narration through Chelsen. It feels a bit mature. It feels like a parent would have this perspective to write. So there's a maturity implicit.
It's a robot parent. She's defeated.
And then book 2 is just from Cyberfrog's perspective, and he's kind of an idiot. And that really undercuts the tone from the first book for me, what I was enjoying. And then this inclusion of like some like cyber cat thing that he fights, and it's just like, oh no, is this just going to be like DC Comics crap of just, it's wacky space stuff and cyborg creatures, like when Rumblebee and his, I guess, robot Bumblebee people, or what I don't know, are in the first book. It's kind of like a throwaway, and it feels like it's more of a like nod to his past version of Cyberfrog before we get to the real story of the Vespers.
This is the everyday Cyberfrog in his element, and then this happens on a day.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, here's an actual real like criminal, an element of a foe coming. In book 2, but yeah, like I don't read Cyberfrog, even with my disappointment in Cyberfrog told me where I think it could go. Versus what I got, it really left me wanting. But I'm still like, okay, where is he going with this? Because I feel like there's partially like this sort of like Sandman type of element, like a Vertigo kind of character. I don't know how deep he'll go with it, or if it'll be pretty simple. But I'm like, I didn't expect this kind of thing to be in this world. But okay, I don't read his book and think, wow, that's like a stupid panel, or that's a dumb progression, or transition. I don't read his book and think there's no effort in this, or he's just like skimming by. It's like, I'd rather wait 3 years and, it loses momentum just from like, this guy's just going to get it whenever he feels like. That's irritating. But I'd rather have that than like, oh boy, 4 Isoms a year.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, just a lot of things that EBS can do is like make just even the visuals as simple as that, like look interesting and good, and like not like the panels as you look at them, like none of them feel like a waste, even just looking at them visually. Like in this, there's a lot that's like, well, was this necessary? Did this need to be here? Is making the book longer? Is that like a goal to make each one longer than the last one? Because I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I told you about like when I used to write my video scripts, like there was a class that very much informed me, and it was most classes are like, well, you need to like write at least 4 pages or 5, or it'd be like a minimum. And it's like I was in a class where it's like, oh no, your maximum is 2.5 pages. It's like, whoa, that's way harder to write, and so you got to learn how to like truncate and like really get to the point. What you're trying to say,
like
you're not
those ones where
padding.
You have to make a 4,000 word essay, and it's like people will go, they'll stretch a word out from, hey, do you want to go to the store with me, to, hey man, I was thinking that it would be a pretty good idea if today we went to the store today, or so, like that. Try to make it last as long as possible to say one thing that would be just more clear and concise in a different,
Yeah, the perfect
like that kind of thing.
The perfect film that I can think of that is The Dark Knight, where it's a 2-hour adult film. It's not a Batman that like a kid might appreciate some of the action here or there, but it's an adult crime movie. It's Heat with Batman suits, Joker and Batman. And there's not an ounce of fat on that movie. If anything, I'd be like, I wish this could be like 10, 20 minutes longer to like let a few things breathe a little bit better. But yeah, like honestly, I think you should try to write as simple as possible, as bare bones as possible, stripped down to its core, and then maybe pad here or there for like just like a moment of respite or something, like Force Awakens, especially because it's like it's been 10 years since we had a Star Wars movie, and this is like you're coming in with the baggage of 6 previous films, and this is a continuation. So besides the cantina scene, there's like no time to mentally rest watching that movie.
Yeah.
And so it's like they should have probably had some scenes of just like let you just kind of sit in Star Wars for. So when people complain about it's kind of these like filler episodes of the Bad Batch, where it's like we're not really going anywhere. It's just like these side quests. I'm like, I kind of like that because it feels like we're just living in the Star Wars universe and seeing.
Star Wars is the one type of like universe where you could have a mundane day seem interesting in that world, maybe. But Stoney, I think he's a little confused with what you meant here. It's not Cyberfrog 2 isn't a prequel to Cyberfrog 1.
No, Cyberfrog 1 Blood Honey is kind of a prequel to lead into like the story of fighting the Vespas, and it's also a reboot of his established 90s character. But Cyberfrog 2 switches narratives from Chell Sin as the narrator of Cyberfrog into Cyberfrog is like who you're reading book 2 through, and so it doesn't have an eloquence like
it's a different character. Like Chelsea had a more eloquence to her character. Cyberfrog's more of a, hey, you dig it? I'm a like spunky guy, huh? I assume.
Oh, got some fried chicken?
Yeah, like yeah. But anyway, Isom 2 here, I guess. I know I'd rather talk about other things now, but so our dude, what's his face? The projects or the
Lincoln,
yeah, Abraham Lincoln.
That's what Dick Masterson called him.
Yeah. I like this. That makes it funnier to me. Lincoln is in a car with this dude, and he like gets betrayed. He's like, I'm not nearly as naive as you may think, Jason. Thanks for the confirmation. What? Yeah, you were one of the insiders who worked with Fontano. This whole ordeal was a setup, and now you're trying to finish the job. And he says, nothing personal. Money talks. And then he gets elbowed in the face, and there's a fight in the car. And it's like, oh, shit. Oh, fuck. And then the car crash. And then we're back with Isom. He's got a gun. And
shades.
And then this chick's like, It's like Mr. Silman. He's like, say no more. Let's figure this out.
Well, it's funny because the way they drew it, it's like he's wearing shades.
It looks like he's
And
blind.
It makes him look like Ray Charles, and the way his head is pointed at her talking, it's like her eyes look like they're at his chin, and so it looks like maybe he is looking up over to like the top of the back of her head,
Like he's
a blind man
looking at the sun setting or something. Like it's like, dude, what do you? Yeah, like, I can't see where your eyes are. I'm just looking around.
Yeah.
Like,
If you ever watch Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder, they do this a lot because like they've not grown up talking to people eye to eye because they're fucking blind. So it's just like,
that's what Isom looks like.
And there's a scene where it's like she is like talking like this, but because he's looking like this, it looks like she's talking to his chin. And it's just like it's little things like that where it's like, fuck, man, like y'all really gotta tighten this crap up. I'm not even like a stickler on art necessarily. There's art where I'm like, that looks good or it doesn't. But it's things like this where I'm like really taking in, I'm like, oh wow, I would have, when I make Meth Gator, I'm going to be very reliant on the artist to convey my story because this is not my wheelhouse of knowing how to direct the art of a book. But like, I'll see it rough or whatever. I'm like, whoa. You got to change that.
Right. Yeah, and then we get to Robot Boy. Gives them a little lift, and he has these little panels that they step onto, and then the robot grabs the girl to help her fly, and then Isom is only holding on by the shoulder to the guy, and then they go to his base.
Yeah, and then Gooding he gives them like an info dump, and something shocks her. And so she faints.
He's like, when I arrived at the security office door, it was open, and I walked in, and Sam was nowhere to be found. I was ambushed by these beasts, and then the building was on fire. It's like, what? And it's kind of interesting because like, I don't know why they chose to have him in the thing repeat the thing that we saw before for this. Like, it's the things where like, and then you skip to when they already explained this because we already know this information. Like, kind of a thing usually, like we know this all right, so but I guess it was supposed to be, I think this is a joke. Like she passes out because and then he's like, she's overly dramatic. It's like, okay,
women,
like that's kind of a joke, but I feel like it could have been like portrayed funnier. Like I don't know if they intend that to be a joke or a character. I can't tell when in the first one when he's like, the one thing I can't do is fly. I don't know if that's meant to be funny or if that's just like serious, like, because you know what I mean? Like the tone, I don't know what they want it to be.
I'm just hearing like a laugh track.
There's no sign of human life. Your husband wasn't, and then she passes out. And then he's like, take her to the medical thing, give her whatever she needs. She would. You knew she.
No, Ricky, you're reading this.
I assumed as much. Sam says she can be a bit dramatic, but let's get this figured out. It's like that could be a joke, but that doesn't come off like a joke.
Yeah, I like to read it like this.
So you got to do the voice, sure.
I have as thorough a database as you could imagine, and I've never heard of anything that fits that description. But after catching some samples of the blood trail you left, I did a quick analysis. There was a trace of carcinogen. It's better if you read him as like a cyborg, like a robot that doesn't understand tone.
True. But it's like, but the joke of like, Sam says she can be a bit dramatic, but then let's get this figured. It's like, I feel like you could have made this into a funny joke, but it's just like not taken as one, which I guess that's in line with Avery, but it's just like this whole page just seems like a waste of time too. I don't know. We need to get her out of here so that we can have the men talk.
Carcinogen. Let me spell it for you, Stoney.
Okay. Yeah, so then this guy, Goody-ing, shows footage of like a goblin monster thing. And it's like, I thought that's what Alpha Core might have also done for us or something, like shown something that they know that they're on to something going on here. And it's just like, nope.
Paths will cross.
Jesus uncrossed. And then it's just like, at least one of them in personal subjects, turmoil made in movies. Okay. I don't know. Just like, you get a little rundown that there's some other monster things out there that aren't just these goat people. Okay. You have any comments on
that? They mentioned there is some war. They mentioned some war.
Yeah, pretty casually. So it's like, okay, so what changed? What about the world changed with the war? That'd be nice to know, but And then he gets his suit on. Some more. And then, it says, I'm disgusted by the old design. Your waistband, it's pointless. I've given you a belt with actual utility. Yeah, try it on. And he puts on the suit. And it's like, all right. What's different now, really, though? He says it has utility, so it has the power of Christ in it or something. Like,
I don't know.
Because I don't see anything on the belt either that it will really keep your pants up this time from slipping like last time. Like, is that? Because I'm not seeing nothing on it that stands out as okay. What it doesn't need to, but it's like you say, it's like, okay.
Isom's narrating. He's like, all these heroes with their flight in cool vehicles. I'm in a costume getting around in a truck. Gooding has me in the middle of nowhere with coordinates, but a good truck is a good truck.
You must be smoking crack. That's what I want to say.
It's just like, did we need this? Like,
who's he? That's for us, but it's still like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't. A truck's a good truck, I guess.
Yeah, and so he gets these coordinates, and there's a fucking castle.
Middle of the desert.
And then he's gonna run across
the panel of him running.
Oh yeah, in the
like
running
panels. It's like,
hold on. He's
it looks like a little girl running.
I mean, it's basic anatomy, I guess, but it just looks kind of
I'm thinking of that TikTok thing where like the girl is on the treadmill and then a guy comes up next to her and she's like, oh, that's hot, and then he starts running like a girl. That's what this guy looks like a little bit. Earth juice. Angus sounds like Wayne in Wayne's World. I know this is a small part, but we can do better than this.
I haven't watched Wayne's World in a long time. I don't know if I like it or not. I do like the joke of like product placement.
Yeah.
But
Pizza,
otherwise I'm not a big
Pepsi and stuff. Yeah.
In what, Domino's or Pizza Hut?
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but it's just like it's kind of before my time.
It was before my time, the time of the beef.
But yeah, let's continue. He runs, and then he starts getting attacked by a dragon and 2 wolves, and then alligators from the moat.
And he punches them. He punches them. Yep.
And it's like, stand down. And it's Sydney Bloodruth.
It's also like
no. It's like, stand down unless you want to die.
Unless you want to have your respect taken from you. But no, this is kind of like a narrative punch in the world of like, okay, so you have these super people, you have these whatever things. Get ready. Now you've got dragons and possessed wolf things and supernatural alligators, I guess. And it's like, oh shit,
he's
okay. Like on
I'm
top of the
fond of threats. And I'm not fond of your presence. Who are you?
Who is
Isom. I was sent here by a mutual friend. Gooding. Very well. What is it that you want? He's like, that wasn't a key card. Does it look like that could be of any use on this property? Now explain your arrival, or you will be escorted
You
off
will
these
burn-
premises.
You will burn in hell. That's surprisingly funnier than.
I'm trying to put the ain't nobody got time for that.
I can't do that for more than like a few words. That's tough for me to do. Long periods, but it's like, okay, I like her design at a base level. Like, it's fine. Like, her design's fine. The idea of this castle and the idea is fine, but it's like, this seems like a whiplash of the. Okay, we were in the city. We're in this now. There's a goat thing and this and it's like, I don't know what, like, he presents Isom as like a more grounded kind of take, and from the level up, and you're gonna learn about the world. But it just, this whole thing just feels like, in a way, it kind of feels like Hellboy 2019, when there's like a lot of ideas in here, and we're just getting to all these ideas, and it's like, it's not letting it breathe enough. The last ones to breathe before we get to the next ones. And Bloodroot's going to be with us for the rest of the book, pretty much.
Yeah.
They talk, and they talk about things they're going to do another time.
This is Bloodroot for y'all to see. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. I like the way it looks. Like, she's got like red electricity or something.
She's got the power of ketchup fingers.
It's like red electricity. That's kind of cool. And she's got like some type of animal control, supernatural thing. She's in the middle of nowhere in a cat. Like, there's some element to that that's kind of cool. But we'll learn about that another time. It's like, all right. I mean, it's good to tease people, I think, sure. But at this
rolled
point,
in tube to limit creases.
yeah, ride with me, or can you keep up? And then she takes off, and he barely is able to grab onto the leg of the dragon.
Wait,
and so
it's a what? A far?
I don't know what that. Supposed to
She one of them feminists that paint with period blood?
No. She seems like a normal type of character you'd have in a setting like this, sure. But it just, I don't know. I know they're coming. Those beasts won't be a problem. Very well. Both of us have a vested interest in this ordeal. Let's go. She almost takes off without him. He's able to leap into the air and catch the leg, and then he just drops dive bombs, takes out some monkey goats.
No. It's funny because they're talking, and there's been an influx of Hellion activity in the area. I've dealt with them as they've come, but this is concentrated. Something is drawing them here. He's like, Hellion. She's like, those creatures look like they could be from hell, do they not? And he's like, if you're in this line of work, you know that there's only one hell. He's like, technically, yes, but there's still a matter of perspective. Every culture has their version of a hell. The common theme is a fiery underground where bad people reside. So you know that hell is a specific, unique place, but not all of the cultural tales are bogus. There are countless realms that fit these descriptions, different planes, different realms that you can't just walk to or visit. He's like different universes? No. That's fictional nonsense.
That's only Marvel and DC. Shut up. So no, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm imagining they mean, so like there's a Greek hell and there's a, like, I don't know, Indian hell or something. There's a Christian hell. Well, I actually thought that might have been more commentary on his character because he's got the cross on his crotch, but I don't know. It hasn't come into play yet, surprisingly. So shockingly. With it,
yeah,
but
and then she hops on her dragon and he grabs its leg and flies with her.
Yeah, flies away and then punches some more monkey goats. And this is one of the things too with all these fights that he's showing. Like,
my sketchbook 340 multiverses are retarded.
Well, it's like with good writers, multiverses can be really good. Doesn't mean they have to be shit. Doesn't mean the whole all the universes have to be at risk either. You could have a very low stake thing in a multiverse story. I think if you wanted to, you could. The reasons why they make some of the multiverse stuff might be in question, sure, but anyway.
Wait, I love this page where they're getting attacked by the Hellion monkey demons, and there's this close up of her face like, "This is a colony. There are too many. We need to retreat." And it's just like I just see her being like, "Colonizers."
That's funny. But it's like I'm trying to look at some of these fights, the panels of him fighting. It's just like, okay, so he can punch and kick and stuff.
No,
neat.
keep his ass riding in a one-horse town. He can't handle too many characters. Rookie, stop it.
Well, no, I'm not saying he can write multiverses. I'm saying good writers can write multiverses. That's what I'm saying. But the face, the close up of her going, "We need to retreat." That to me, I'm like, for some reason, I think of Chucky. I think of Chucky for that. It's like, damn it, and then he's like punching in the air, and there's like, oh,
you are just scared by Sketchbook. You're scared of the RCU that will come, the Ripaverse cinematic universe.
Oh, God. But like, so one of the issues I have with these monkey demon things is like they seem to just be those like kind of they're no different to me than like a parademon in DC.
I was about to say that.
And my cat just came in. I gotta close the door. Hold on, so that she doesn't go back out. Oh, you're back. BRB.
My kitty cat. Wait for Eric to call Nerdrog and his crew his favorite colonized. Oh, waiting for. Oh, all right, no rookie. So it's just fighting the Hellions, and then Bloodruth starts doing her ketchup hands and going, "Aye!" And I guess it takes some of them out. And then the Hellions are shooting fireballs at Isom. And then there's like 4 or 5 of them all in a group, and they all like make a super fireball at them. And it's like they shoot at them, but it's like he Baby Yoda'd a force field around himself or something. It looks like he's bracing to not get hit. So it's unclear if Bloodruth put a force field around him or something, or if he has the power of like force field. I don't know. It's not clear. But the monkey demon's design changes off and on through the book. Like,
which threw me off.
They got these like bioluminescent eye patches on like their forehead that are like cut, so it's like 4 eyes on top of their forehead over their eyes. Yeah.
At first I thought that there was like intentional differences to like show maybe rank or different strength or ability levels or something to make them a little bit different or whatever. Like the bigger horned ones or the ones with the more glowy stuff can do these abilities or something, but nope. But so it's like, and he also punches these things, and it's just as generic as like, yeah, a Chitauri or a parademon. But I feel like the Chitauri was more creative in a way. Like this is creative. I like the design sort of, but then I don't the closer I look at it. Like from far away at a glance, I'm like, this looks pretty cool. And the closer you look at it, it's like it just gets worse, I think.
Yeah, because they got these like saber-toothed tusks on the sides of their top jaw, but when they go like it's like their jaw doesn't extend past so it's like their teeth are in the way. Like we assume that Sabretooth could open its mouth back to like its neck to like use its fangs.
Yeah,
this doesn't look practical.
Well, it's like, okay, I don't know what his intention is with these monkey things. They spoke before. They speak. And one of them later says, "Hey, you," or something to them that are there. It's like, so with that alone, I just based on how he describes how he'd want to do this stuff and the characters, I don't know. I was hoping they'd be less generic-ish in how they're treated. They're treated like goons to punch. It's just like, okay. I mean, thought it'd go for a little more. And then Bloodroot's using her powers, and then they start throwing fireballs, and he's dodging them, because he's probably gonna get hit and burned, and that can hurt. And the way they have a panel drawn isn't clear if she gets in the way of a fire blast from a bunch of them, or if he gets hit. But I'm assuming she takes the blast because he seems fine. Is that what you're describing with the force field thing? Yeah, it's like the way that it cuts to the next panel is that I guess she took it on, and then he's fine, and then it just cuts to the next thing, and there's more punching. It's just like, okay, you're telling me that in some comic books they do show like a scene progression in a fight, like how they do in film sometimes. That's what I'd prefer to kind of see here. There's nothing, we're not gaining anything here other than there's a fight. Like
this is EVS's cover with the demon monkeys, the Hellions, and you see they got these like 4 eye patch things above their eyes, but what EVS drew is like these are like more pronounced fangs, but in the book they're like saber-toothed tusks, kind of like above any of their teeth to like kind of like in their cheeks.
It seems to be like above their lips, like separate from their mouth.
Yeah, it's and honestly, like
especially one close up of one of them that makes it look really off compared to the others.
Honestly, Isom, see what I mean, Ricky? Like her hair, it's so detailed, but it's kind of like a mess compared to the rest of her art.
Yeah, a little bit.
This is the thing I noticed with his hair. It's like he's really detailed with his hair, but it's like a fucking mess. It's distracting from the rest of his female characters. But yeah, it's like everything around Isom looks cool. Isom looks kind of lame in this cover, and he just does great art. And it's just like, I think this speaks to Isom.
But it's like it doesn't look that interesting, and
then it's like, come here, monkey. I'm going to give you a nuggie.
Yep, come here, pal. And in the whole thing where he's fighting all these monkey people, so I'm thinking like,
this cover, look, like it's all these monkeys are dynamic and they're like lunging to attack. He's got one in a headlock. This one back here is like, Wah! And then he's just like,
yeah,
it doesn't match the like tone. And then she's just being sexy and doing her ketchup hands.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, like I was just commenting on like how, so he goes into this whole place. There's like hundreds of these fuckers around, like at least hundreds, if not thousands, probably, but at least a few dozen that you see them fighting. And he knows that they're super strong. They've injured him earlier with like a scratch. They can throw fire at him, which seems to be something he's not invulnerable to because she had to deflect it for him. So I would kind of think these things are a pretty good match to him a little, like to make it like it's not so easy. But he goes through them like they're the Putty Patrol and Power Rangers, like they're just a breeze. And it's like, okay, so does he show any signs of getting tired? Is there any? Is he like Superman strength? He can just kick all these things and it's all fine. Like it's small details. It's just like he's an athlete, so he won't get tired. It's like, well, I don't know, athletes get tired, don't they? Like when they run, they'll still be short of breath a little. Like I don't know, it seems like he's kicking butt this whole time and he's just not broken a sweat. And it's like I don't like that kind of thing. I criticize that a lot with movies or something when they show a character like swinging shit around a whole bunch and they look fine. That's why another detail that I like in the Avengers, where it's like, but in the middle of their fighting, like Cap is like looking fucked up, Thor's dirty, like everybody's been through shit in that battle. Like, it's like you can see it, it's there, and this is a visual medium, so I would have preferred there be a little more visual showing of like what they're doing. And then in the next panel here, they show a shit ton of these things as little blobs in the distance, like tons of them. Like, there's at least hundreds, if not thousands of these things down here. And he's just like, they'll be fine. But then he runs away from Pop the Isom 1.
Also, I guess it's blood power, which is like, whose blood is she using? Because she finds Sam and frees him. And there's a question of like, we got to get out of here. And he's like, well, we can't leave Isom. Well, actually, he's like Avery's like, I thought his name was Isom. And she like projects this blop of blood that they ride down like valley or something.
Well, hold on. That's right after this. But like they show some pointless panels of him bending down to give her a boost, and then she backs up to run to get a good distance, and then her running toward him, and then her kicking off of him, and then she's in the air.
Which is like, wait, where's her dragon?
Yeah, they left it outside, I think, and then they went inside. But then, so there's all those thousands of like monsters, and then he just jumps down there after he gives her a boost, and is like, yeah, I'll fight these things, whatever. Like, okay, so he at this point is confident enough with his abilities and whatever that he can just take on like thousands of these things that seem to be able to injure him if they scratch him hard enough or throw fire at him. And there's like a ton of like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there'd still be a level of like some type of danger. He'd at least be taking a lot of damage in this fight, but he doesn't seem to be taking that much damage either. So
yeah, like in Avengers when they fight the Chitauri, or in Avengers 2 when they fight Ultron's.
But that's what I was just saying.
Drones,
they take a lot of damage.
Incessant.
That's what I was saying. They take a lot of battle damage throughout, and you can see it. They show it. They are worn down a lot from fighting all these goons.
Yeah, it's just like punch, kick.
He's just punching the crap out of all of them, and he gets knocked down a few times. He's like, some of them come from behind, but it's like he's like two of them should be somewhat of a problem, but easy enough to dispose of. Maybe you could take on a group of them. It's like even in Power Rangers, they'll sometimes show that some of them can be overwhelmed by the goons, and that's what makes it tougher. If there's a whole bunch of them, like that, even though they're weaker, essentially, like it's a small thing, but it's like that. I feel like that's a big impact because that's another. Because like in Isom 1, he runs away from the cops, or he got knocked out from being dropped from a car, and it's like if you can fight all these monsters and that are like super strength, and you don't in your fight, like okay,
right.
Your ability to take damage is tough for me to know what is your limit, or like not even a limit, but like what is threatening to you.
Well, in Thor Ragnarok, when he's freeing himself from Surtur, and he has like the swarm, they showcase that as like, this is folly. He's the god of thunder, and he has Mjolnir that can like have its own agency to some degree in the fight. And it's like the tone is comedic. It's like, this isn't a threat for Thor. He's Thor, you know? And so then they escalate and have the freaking dragon chase him down.
Yeah, well, and then even after that, when they show his sister and how she can crush Mjolnir, and like, you know, like that shows like, wow, you did all that earlier and defeated that guy. She does that. That's like a classic like anime type of thing of like, you know, power creep sort of, but you know, done in a way that narratively makes enough sense. Yeah, her blood powers. So does she need somebody's blood to make the blood powers work, or she use her own blood? Is it? You don't need to explain. You don't need to explain everything. But it's like
no, it's like, well, she's Blood Ruth, but only 1 week a month.
It's like, does she need to have a dead body around to use the blood? Because yeah, she seems to use this guy's blood, this dead guy's thing. Like, not possible. I don't know what I can do, but I'm going to see if I can identify the slain. And then, yeah, she like, okay, well, no, that's just identifying them with the blood, I guess. But does that? No, she just kind of randomly makes a blood thing. It's like that'd actually be an interesting thing to her character. Like, can she only do this a limited amount of time and a certain amount of time? Like, you know, I can only use this, you know, and then I need like a 30-minute recharge, or, you know,
yeah. But see, the reason I mentioned the dragon and why that seems to be a plot hole, because her wolves pop up in the fight.
You're right, and I don't think they brought them with them. The dragon flew them there. Like, the dragon flew her and Isom there. The wolves weren't there.
The dragon does pop in later.
But that is a good question as to, like, how come this whole thing is ridiculous. I guess. I don't know. It don't make no sense. Don't make no sense. like I would be okay with him fighting all these guys by himself, but like show him get battle damage. Like, you guys better fucking hurry. I can't do this all day. I'm not Captain America. I can't do this all day. Something like that. Like, it's just like I'll do what I can as
Honestly,
best I
this
can.
Thanos demon monkey, it's like a gay like He-Man character.
I'll get you next time, Isom.
I've underestimated this human. Our presence is no longer necessary. All has been confirmed. He must be eliminated.
Dislike his last post on Facebook, and we will teach him what the underworld is about. But yeah, so that's Isom 2. That's Isom 2.
Yeah. What a ride.
And I'm surprised to say this, but I think that it's worse than Isom 1.
Also, it's like, wait, this is the grounded world you're making?
That's what really. Like, the first one felt more grounded, even though it still had a lot of kind of crazy stuff in it. But it was somewhat focused around him detectiving, sort of. But then this is like, fuck that, whatever. And it's like the level that it doesn't. I don't even know if he cares about Sam. While we're watching this, he's treating it like Sam is the mission that I've got to save. I got to save that dude. But it's not at all like he cares about him, or like there's nothing that indicates like that it's important that he saves them at all. Like, which you think if it's somebody that you care about, that you would kind of reiterate this to other characters like Bloodruth or the Gooding and whatever. Like Gooding's like, I'm not going to tell you this, but like, this is my friend that's at risk here. Fuck you, like something. And he seems like he'd be aggressive to say that to other people, like to push that he will, fight for his friend. But I don't get that impression at all. It's like, I gotta go get my worker back from the demons. I'll be back in a bit.
It's finally getting all the fan art, which is really cool looking. And it's like there's always like team ups of Isom and Yaira, and it's like, wow, like you gotta be disappointed. It like seeing all this like, ooh, this kind of hype build up, and it's like, yeah. We get Yaira in book 2. She's just like a consultant at a company.
She's barely a cameo, really. Almost entirely useless to anything in the story. But yeah, it feels like so much of this. A lot of the fighting panels feel like they don't need to be there. And if they were going to choose to, like, this thing, like when I talk about film, there's a lot of fights you can do that tell a story or that tell you something about either characters or something. We don't get anything in this. They just punch things. And it's like, it feels like in a superhero comic, there are times where they punch people or they punch monsters. So that's what happens.
Yeah, what are his powers? Again, what are his powers besides he can punch things?
When he says he can handle all these guys, I thought he was going to do something with his suit, like because he just got a new suit. That's important. What was the relevance of his suit in this book?
By the Christ crotch power, I compel you.
Like I thought there would have been this is an easy visual. So you know how he got like scratched at the beginning, but he's only wearing like a t-shirt. If like another one grabbed his shoulders and like squeezed and tried to, and it didn't affect him. Like, a quick glance of like, and then, like, the suit's good or some type of comment.
Yeah, it gets like his face scratched like Leonidas, where you get like battle scar progression.
Not just, I was saying to show how his suit is relevant at all, because they made that the point at the end of the first one to be irrelevant, and then this one it's okay, you got a whole new utility belt, I upgraded you're so cool now. And what I'm saying is he got scratched.
What is the utility of this belt? You've not shown me.
He got scratched earlier by one of those things in his t-shirt, and then if he got scratched again and it doesn't do anything because the suit is better than a t-shirt, that's a simple way to show that the suit is handy, because
or how else they're getting exhausted, like Batman when he's fighting Superman, and he's like kind of exhausting his options, and he like desperately throws he's throwing these like smoke grenades, and Superman's like silly human, and then like he gets thrown near the edge of the building, and then he throws another grenade, and Superman's like and then bam, kryptonite.
Yeah,
fell for it, idiot.
It's like, there's that, and then it's like, so he's punching all these things. Does he ever get tired? Does his knuckles ever? He doesn't have a weapon with him, and I guess I'm like, are we supposed to think he's like a Superman that doesn't fly? that is like invulnerable to things and can
They fly now.
hunt all day. Like again, like if he was at the end of the battle, like tired and like his knuckles are bruised or something, he's like, like this is getting tiring, guys. Like, can you help a little? Can you do something? Can we go? And then the dogs and dragon come in or something. Thank you, or some type of reinforcements. Like, even have that be kind of funny or something. Like that, just anything to make it better than what it is, because the fight scenes are just pow pow pooky pow poo. The dogs can handle it; they're fine. And it's like, that's so unsatisfying the way it's just presented. It's like, yeah, the dogs can just attack all these things. How about one of the monkey things drop kick one of the wolves, and you're like, oh shit, that might kill one of the wolves. Like, I don't know, just make it. I feel like it's simple to do this, right? Like, to make it. Like, what are we supposed to be worried about? Like, at what point are we like going, oh no, our heroes are like anything? Is anybody in danger? Like,
I don't know.
Like, is any character in danger, really? Why were the other people dead and then Sam isn't dead? Like, why'd they get taken? You'll find out next time.
Let me see. I'm looking up Isom on Twitter, trying to see like anyone be like, "Oh boy, yippee!" Trying to see like what the comments are.
Well, and that's kind of another thing that is a little bit annoying, and I think would be a little bit worrisome if I were him. Like, it's like most of the people that are like excited for Isom stuff, most of them don't say what about it is exciting, really. Like, can't really go in depth with it, like how you kind of could with like Cyberfrog or with Superman or with Batman or Spider-Man or something. You can kind of explain why you are excited to read another thing. I don't know what the hook is with this, or the point to continue with the next one. Like, what's the drive here?
Yeah. Someone says, just read Isom 2 mini review. It's better than the first issue. I want more of the flashbacks to learn more about Avery, but I want more of the main story to find out what's up with Sam, Bloodruth, and more. I'm in on issue 3. It's like,
it's like, what about what it shows with Sam makes you want to know more about Sam? He got captured. See, it's like, did Sam even enter the fight at all, or did he like show any? Like, this is where you could show like city difference versus ranching difference. Is any of his fight choreography like I'm gonna plow the field, I'm gonna shovel the poo, I'm gonna lift the hay? It's something Karate Kid. I'm kind of joking with that, but I'm also kind of not joking either. Like, is there like any type of technique that's different, or is it just I punched?
There's this guy, The Thickening. He says, perfection isn't the expectation, but enjoyment is. He says, I felt it necessary to share this video just to clarify my position on Rippaverse and my expectations. Some will hate just because they dislike Eric. And it's like, isn't that what y'all do with Barbie, Avatar, Blue Beetle, etc.? Like, I don't think Blue Beetle is going to be good. Like, I can tell you that from the trailer, and it wasn't. I didn't need to like slam the fascism line by George Lopez and all these wacky, silly Trump stuff that the director said that doesn't have anything to do with the movie. Or you should assume it doesn't have anything to do with the movie until you see the movie.
Even Snow White. It's just a lot.
Yeah, it's like all I see is people like, whoa, I got the book. The book is complete and it shipped.
I paid for it and I got it. Mission complete.
Yeah, it's it's just baffling to me that this is all like Phantom Menace rooted, since like Last Jedi, and there's so much good criticism and reflection. And that's the thing, people that defend The Last Jedi that like, someone like you and me are like cringe, but they make intelligible arguments based on the series of films to justify their perspective, their interpretation. It's like Luke threw the lightsaber in episode 6, so it makes total sense that, and it's like, oh man, you're really missing
So
like
it's
the
dumb,
context.
but we at least can see, we can follow their mindset, even though it's shitty.
Yeah, or like,
Oh.
oh well, Luke said this, I'm a Jedi and I'm not going to kill and blah blah blah. And then what he does in episode 8, being a pacifist, it's like they see that as lining up. That's an interpretation. It's like I can't really argue against your claim because it's like this is how you're perceiving it. I can be like, well, that doesn't add up with the context.
It's like
but
even if George Lucas says Jar Jar is the key, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is in the context of the story.
Yeah, in that clip when he says it, it sounds kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, people will take things that directors say and say that that's what it is, like with the Barbie movie or something, or with other things, like take all these things as gospel for that is what the movie is. It is what it is. And it's like, well, no, I can say that in the movie, in the Fat Speedster, there's a unicorn that punctures him in the butthole and he poops unicorn sparkles. But just because I'm the director of it doesn't mean that that's true or accurate. Like,
here's a quote.
That's maybe a drastic example.
Here's a screenshot someone had of a post of his. He says, character bastardizations used to upset me, but those days are long gone. Now I'm focused on being part of the solution. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a fan of the older material. It just impacts me differently when I see these goofy changes. I'm more fascinated in the economics of it all. Seeing these modern adaptations are more cultural case studies, economic lessons, and working examples of what not to do. It's like, sure, but like what you're doing is not fixing anything. And again, like if your angle is, well, they're being political and divisive, it's like I honestly would rather watch, Batwoman than Isom, because like what is the perspective of Isom? What's his worldview?
Well, it's like with Batwoman, we know what their perspective is, and it's silly, but it's funny to watch it because it's like, oh, they think it's all like girl power. You suck. Gays rule. You straight people are assholes, and it's funny to see that interpretation play out.
Yeah, great commentary sketchbook. Yeah, this is what irritates me, man. Like being in this sphere since 2018 with The Last Jedi and all the great commentary from so many people that aren't even in the Phantom Menace, but they just were pissed off of that movie. So much good commentary. Like some of my perspective about Luke Skywalker has been informed thanks to The Last Jedi, because I'm not a OT guy. I'm a prequel guy. I've always hated Luke Skywalker because he's a good guy. I like the bad guys. And so I'm like, oh man, the Jedi win. But then you see these arguments about, oh, well, you raise a Mary Sue. Luke Skywalker's a Gary Stew. And it's like, no, every film someone saves his ass. He's like the bumbling idiot hero that actually other people save the day.
It's a team effort. It's not
like when people try to deflect, what would be Menace fans enjoying, celebrating the Mandalorian season 2 Luke Skywalker fight scene. And it's like, you just want to see Luke Skywalker be a badass and whirly twirly his lightsaber and blah blah blah.
He rarely ever did that.
You can't accept growth of a character like Last Jedi. It's like, no, they've never seen Luke Skywalker be a badass. Like, he's had a spiritual win over his father, but he actually lost the fight because the Emperor was destroying him, and Vader saves his ass and gets killed for it. Luke Skywalker's never, at best, you've had his bumbling fight over the Sarlacc pit. And
which that was they're barely showing him do anything. It's mostly showing everybody else do stuff. R2 and Leia and Han and Lando and Chewie and everybody getting into place, and then they just cut back and forth between everybody. It's not like, it's not like the Luke Skywalker kicking ass show.
But ultimately, like with Star Wars, we've had all these conversations, and I've appreciated the depth of Luke Skywalker because of the bad writing of Rey Skywalker. And other film stuff like Marvel, especially, I can see the criticism and stuff, and the fighting back against like narratives from up top and where we've gone now. Sure, Loki probably has writing contradictions or whatever, but Loki is like substantive to me because it feels like the only thing that actually is like progressing Marvel story wise and offering development. So I'm enjoying it, but we went from like legitimate criticism, pointing out the shill media, covering for Disney until the last second when they flop like Solo or something, and then trying to say, well, they're rolling too much stuff out. It's just the fans are tired. And you see this with superhero stuff next. A lot of superhero stuff's failing. And yet at the same time, they'll like promote the success of Spider-Verse or Guardians 3, which completely show it. Like, people aren't tired of superheroes. People are tired of generic cookie cutter, formulaic storytelling with no effort. Or, you could argue woke crap that undercuts actual storytelling. I don't think people would even care if you did woke crap in these movies if you actually had an overall story worthwhile. And yeah, you get this whole sphere of conversation, and now it's become like shilling for personalities. And you see it with Bounty into Comics, where it's like, the masks come off and they're just, the other side of propaganda for their team and or religious politics. And I would say it's a bigger infraction than the SJW is in control of mainstream media, because it's like they're programmed. They are subject to the investors or whatever, the people running the show. We're supposed to be independent and free thinking, and yet we're doing the same crap for our side. And it's like, that's a bigger infraction than me.
We're supposed to like criticize each other in a way to like, yeah, you can take criticism. So peers should be able to criticize each other and it not be like, you have now drawn lines in the sand. You are now
and the Isom art that someone did of Isom and Super Killer doing George Floyd on Isom. Like, we should be able to laugh at that and appreciate the humor of it, especially because Vito is like, he's not weirdo anti-racism, but like, he does not like racism, but he also loves comedy. He appreciates comedy. So he's enjoying like the comedy of this, but like, oh God, this is so horrible. Cause it's a joke about a tragedy and it is funny, but oh no, this is going to be associated with me. So that's hilarious. But then we're like, this is who they are. They're actually the racists. It's like, oh wow, we're trying to do that playbook. We're the side supposed to just be like, racism. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, yeah, just thanks for the promotion.
Or
just it's not a big
I will
deal.
show you that fan art really quick.
It's not a big
my
deal.
Sketchbook. Biggest problem in.
But yeah, so that's just like the criticism part, like is what everybody kind of was growing on with stuff. Like we were being crapped on by a lot of media people, basically with like you're going against the Last Jedi, and then it seemed to be like we're supposed to be able to create stuff ourselves, which is what a lot of people are doing, and then be able to criticize each other. You'd think that would make sense without it being like drawing battle lines or something. Like a lot of people don't want to step on eggshells, or they're walking on eggshells because they don't want to step on somebody's toes and say something bad about it. Essentially, like I'll be doing a lot of reviews soon on a lot of books.
I'll show you.
I'll be doing a lot of reviews on a lot of books, so it's not like I'm just like singling out Isom because it's popular or some shit. It's like, no, there's a lot of CG.
Well, no, it's worthwhile to crap on it because it's popular, because that's what they do. Frank.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm intending to look at.
Let's spin it for our narrative, because we have to make everything bad. So we're the saviors, which is like, at least Eric actually is making something. I'll give him that. At least he's actually making something, an alternative. I don't think it will actually matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, I've seen so many comments like, I don't read comics and I backed Isom because take that, woke Marvel. Like, cool. Like, hey, I appreciate any customer, but like, you should really be like, hey, I want you to actually read this and give me your feedback and help me improve my craft and make this not just a personality success from my extension of my YouTube, but an actual literary success. Make this, so successful, but also successful because it is so good that mainstream can't ignore me and or my creative team and maybe have to collaborate. We should be trying to like break down the walls of control for narrative's sake and make it a non-issue where it's like he got the Brazilian artist from Immortal Hulk coming on for one of his projects. It's something Bennett. He's been outed as a Nazi by Al Ewing and company because they uncovered some pro-Bolsonaro art he did as Bolsonaro and company as knights chasing down like the enemy politicians in Brazil as rats. And because Nazis would personify Jews as mice and rats to vilify them as pests, anyone that does this to their political enemies is Nazis to these people. And so Bennett got canceled from Immortal Hulk and Marvel by that writer. So just like Gina Carano for Daily Wire, this is kind of a win of like a outcast creative from Marvel. But honestly, we should be working to like build this guy up where it's like, fuck, everyone wants that guy's art. They don't even care if he's a Nazi because he's great as a writer or artist for this product. That's what we should be working
They
at.
need to show it to any 5th grade teacher and have them go, this is a pretty good comic.
This whole parallel comic crap student. No, we should be trying to just destroy blacklisting limitations. And it's like, well, who cares if whatever, can they do a job? It's like if I run a company, if I run Clorox and my best customer, my biggest purchasing customers are the Ku Klux Klan to clean their white sheets. I'm not going to say anything about like, hey, thanks for the money. I'll just put the money where I want personally. If I want to invest in politics or whatever, or initiatives, but hey, thanks for being good customers. I'm going to keep making my quality product to wash your white sheets, Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, I've got blood on them.
This is the fan art of Super Killer with Isom. It says, don't do drugs. It's so funny. It's funny because the same people that like they're racist, they laughed at Ryan Kittle making his George Floyd joke about like a Simpson statue of a hunter on a bear. Like, it's so Two-Face.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. If you want to support the channel, let me pull up my link. Log in annoyingly. 1 second. See, log in to GoFundMe, you have to type in whatever crap they sent you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Again, it's like I'm hoping that there's improvements in the stuff. I mean, I'll be checking out the next ones, see how they are, but it's not looking good so far. It's not looking good so far.
What? All right. But yeah, if you want to support me, essentially I made this as an idea for like, since I'm not monetizing my channel currently because I need watch time again. This way you can quote unquote super chat me or support me if you want. Any money you send me is going to help me make my comic Meth Gator. So appreciate it if you do, or if you know people interested in the idea. But yeah, Chuck Dixon is only doing the Yaira book. And I think Chuck Dixon's he really rides the success of Nightwing and Bane. I don't know his real value as a writer overall. If that's just like, oh, a name, or if it's like, oh, that's like a legitimate everyday, whatever he's assigned, he will like bang out a good book. I don't know. So
I thought that Chuck was doing Alpha Core and the Saska sisters are doing Yaira.
who knows? Whatever. They're probably. I'm assuming Dixon will probably be giving notes to the Saska sisters, pointers or something as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, he says there are no parallel economies, just different markets. Which is why none of the books crowdfunding are going to affect the mainstream. Generally, yeah, I'd agree with that. If anything, you could be so successful crowdfunding that mainstream will take you in or redistribute your book through their company or something to that effect. That would be, I think, that's like steps. I'm not against the mainstream economy. It's there for a reason because it's legitimate. Crowdfunding is an uphill battle. And any success you have, it's like, you say what you want about comic stores, but it's like comic stores, that is the haven for the average reader. And so that's where the average consensus is going to get excited seeing promos for new stuff coming out. Hey, I want to pre-order that. So I think crowdfunding should be at least on like collected sources like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Fund My Comic. I think that should be like your starting point to like build yourself up. But at some point you should try to be self-sustaining. But at the same time, like Brian Pulido, he's got, people pull his Lady Death books at the comic store for the standard editions, but he still crowdfunds on Kickstarter every issue. So you can do both, but I think like you should use the crowdfunding to build yourself and then be sustainable outside of that. But of course, release your kind of more prestige formats of your books through the crowdfunding, make them exclusive, and reap the benefits of that exclusivity for the payout. Yeah, good commentary, my sketchbook. Appreciate it, and thanks for hanging out. We're gonna close this out. I'm gonna get off to bed and possibly go to work for some overtime tomorrow. But appreciate you all in the chat, and see you next week.